Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and former Memphis Tiger Gabe Kuhn.
Whoa. How about it? On a Thursday, it's December 2nd, second day of December, 2021. Welcome into Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe Kuhn and Brett Stats Norsworthy. Brian Dacus, of course, always producing the program. Plenty to get to today. Championship week in college football is upon us. We're going to have Bill Bender talk to us at 3:30 about that and the coaching carousel in college football. Grizzlies are in action tonight versus the Thunder. Keith Smith will join us to talk NBA and the Grizzlies at 4 o'clock. We have Thursday Night Football. Cowboys visit the Saints. But there's no question. There is one conversation that will drive today. It will absolutely dominate. So if you have anything to talk about as far as the Tigers are concerned, you know where to hit us up. Autos on listener line 901-360-8255. Also watch us live and message us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. Mention Keith Smith, mention Bill Bender. We're also going to have Greg Gaston at 5 o'clock in his normal time slot to talk Tigers, to talk about what we saw last night and also a little bit of football as far as the Hawaii Bowl is concerned. We're always live from the Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Is where you can find them, and they have some good holiday sales going on right now, so check them out. Brett, how do we start this? We talked about it yesterday, this Georgia game. Tigers drop 82-79 to the 174th ranked Ken Pom team, and our conversation yesterday wasn't about losing. There was no even inkling of that. Our texters weren't thinking about that, but they lose. And we were talking about margin of victory. That's all that was discussed yesterday. But the Tigers go out and lose, and what seemed like it would be an unlosable game.
They did, Gabe, and it's a particularly bad Georgia team. It is an incredibly bad loss. It has the veneer of, we lost to an SEC team. Okay, they did do that, but it is dead last in the SEC. If they don't end up dead last, they're going to end up very close to it. They'll end up closer to 14th than they will to 10th, wherever Georgia falls at the end of the year. Tom Crean's dead man walking. He knows it. He looked it. I know it was his 400th win, but he was very emotional after the game because he knew, pure, simple, unadulterated, he stole one. He did it without his second-best player. He did it with only 2 other wins on the year. Florida International, and who was the other one going into the game? Like South Carolina State, Tony Madlock, the victim there. And last night, his 3rd win, a really ugly loss on Sunday to Wofford. And for the Tigers, Gabe, I didn't think we'd be at this point all year. I didn't think the Tigers would burn through that preseason ranking on November 2nd. Mm-hmm. And now the idea of being back in the top 25 at any point this year seems unlikely, or at best it seems like it's going to be a while. And if we were here today putting together the pieces of a 3-point loss after starting something in one, and that game being a loss to Alabama or to Tennessee, it would have quite a different construct around it. Instead, this team played really bad against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech did win last night in a game against Maryland that I guess salved over some wounds last night. But then the Iowa State game, Georgia compared to Iowa State, I mean, it makes Iowa State look like John Wooden's UCLA team.
But both of those teams were picked at the bottom of their conference. Iowa State, of course, the bottom of the Big 12 projection, and Georgia, without question, bottom of the SEC. And you can talk about it being their first road game. Do we realize? You have to realize. Wofford went into Georgia and won a game. Georgia had lost 4 straight. And I thought there was some changes that Penny Hardaway made. He shortened the rotation. He did
only 11 turnovers last night.
Did a decent job of limiting turnovers. But the first half, the shot making and the defense, and I'd say the whole game, shot making and defense, was embarrassing. They continued.
How about that DeAndre
Georgia
Williams shot on inbounds under basket in the first half? One of the worst shot attempts in the history of the sport.
And Georgia continually, in Kario Okendo, you got to give credit to him, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals.
The secret weapon, not Jose Okendo.
He was a pest the entire night. And all they did constantly, Georgia, was high ball screen, try to get to the rim, get fouled, get an offensive rebound. That's what it was the entire night. And I know that as the media, we create certain expectations around a program. I'll say this right now. I got fooled again by this Tiger team. And that's as easy as I can put it. I thought there's no way, no even thought that Georgia could eke out a win, even with SEC players, what have you, a brand new team, Tom Crean sort of on his last leg. There was no way that could happen. But this Memphis team is showing the exact same things in year 4 under Penny Hardaway that we've seen in the first 3. And I know that there was I've always said it. When you're a new coach, especially in college basketball, heck, college football, any form of college athletics, there's a learning curve. I don't know if there's been growth as far as Penny Hardaway is concerned and how he coaches and how he develops players. Because you look, and here's the other thing, you look at last night as some of the games going on around the country, and you see the Tigers don't have a point guard, a true point guard. A guy last year that left in Boogie Ellis, if you go look at what he's doing at USC is undefeated. They're a top 25 team. He had 19 points last night in a 20-point win over Utah, and he's their leading scorer at 14.5 points a game. I look at that, and I get concerned about what Penny Hardaway is doing in development. You can get all of the 5 stars, 4 stars, all of these good players. You can, and he does a good job. He's a good salesman. There's no question about it. But if you don't develop them and give them some leadership, it's all for naught.
Yeah, it is. It's called coaching. And then his post-game comments, really, in fact, leading up to the game, all the quotes this week have just been dreadful. And before the game, him saying that the Tigers represented for Georgia their Super Bowl. Well, on the face of it, that's ludicrous because they play I don't think they play Kentucky at home this year, but they play in a league with Kentucky. They have a pretty big rivalry with Florida, the cocktail party on the hardwoods. They have they had their game against Georgia Tech at home, just on the face. I mean, get over the Tigers are the biggest story rolling into town. This is not 07-08 John Calipari. This is not. And for all the smoke and all the hype and all the bluster, that it is time for that to subside totally. It's time for a real assessment. And among many things I want at the AutoZone text line today, 901-360-8255, was last night a tipping point for some of the hardcore, some of the diehards. Was that a tipping point? We know in real attendance so far this year at FedEx Forum, there hadn't been many people there. There's a lot of reasons for that, coming out of still in the midst of a global pandemic, primary to that. But we heard all summer this building up of this colossus, and we know that it hadn't been one. And we now fear that it's not going to be one. But here's something else I want. Any buyer's remorse. Not necessarily on moving away from Tubby Smith, but at that time, I can think of 2 really good coaches that would have jumped at the University of Memphis job. One of them is Eric Musselman. Another one, Steve Forbes. I thought at the time, I didn't think it was a bad idea to move away from Tubby. Seemed a little disenchanted, a little disengaged, maybe a lot disengaged. In the retirement years, doesn't have his heart really in it. Okay. That's fine, and might need to have somebody different. But this groundswell, this movement, this coup to put in Penny Hardaway, I wonder if anybody out there has any buyer's remorse for that.
I think at 4:30 we're going to try to open up the phone lines, and we'll get to your texts as well. So continue to hit 901-360-8255, and also message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. But on face value, this loss. you look at what has happened in the first 3 years with Penny Hardaway, and it's the same exact story, Brett. Bad losses, and by the end of the year, are they going to have enough quality wins to make up for those bad losses? You have 2 in a row now against teams that you have no business losing to with the amount of talent you have. You get outcoached. That's the truth of the matter. And then after the game, I would say in a vacuum, the loss itself was bad, but there were certain things about what Penny Hardaway did that have you saying, okay, well, he's trying to implement change. He's trying to make differences on the offensive side of the ball. In a vacuum, the loss is bad, but what amplified the loss, Brett, is these quotes, what he said after the game. And I'm just going to put it out there. Personal responsibility, having played at a collegiate level, football, having had coaches have to explain away certain losses, personal accountability for the coach is what I look for. I think that is very, very important. And Penny took very little last night, personal responsibility.
Almost none.
Almost none. Here's what he had to say. There aren't enough guys in that locker room who care about winning unless they are the ones that are helping us win. It's not team. That's the danger of having a lot of talent. The talent has to want to play together, and right now the talent doesn't want to play together. He also went on to say, I'm really gutted from looking at this. We look like an AAU team. It looks really bad, and I don't really and this is just this is asinine. I don't really understand what these guys are thinking. Now, I do think there's some truth to what he's saying. You watch them play; it is individual ball. There's a lot of hero ball going on. They want to get theirs in a lot of ways, but to say that you can't control it and that you have no bearing on how they're playing is ridiculous. You're a coach. You're the one who recruited these guys, who brought them in, who sold them these dreams, sold them the hype. But when they start struggling, you don't take any responsibility for what they're doing on the floor.
Sold to Amani Bates that I can make you a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach you how to play point guard.
And of all of these quotes, this is the worst one. Guys are willing to lose if they're not getting their way. That's tough to watch.
And I tell you, Gabe, in this very sensitive athlete's time, some of those guys, you go out and have I don't think they will, but I didn't think it would happen last night. You go out and you have a toe stubber Saturday in Oxford, heaven forbid, next Friday night against Murray State, and you pound on them a little more. Well, with the time of the year, we know Christmas time, you can exit now and be eligible next year about December 20th. Mm-hmm. You could look up and have the whole team bolt.
I would expect, especially if he's going to limit the rotation and he's going to talk like this about his players, about the older players and specifically Lester Quinones, Alex. And he mentioned Alex Lomax by name yesterday. Alex Lomax had one of the best games I have ever seen him play at the University of Memphis.
I think he knows he can name drop Alex.
Yes, but here's really another thing, though. He can, but name drop him if it's deserved.
Yeah.
Or else
you're right.
It's going to fall on deaf ears because that doesn't do any good to call someone out who's actually working their butt off.
Worse than that was of calling him out was taking him out.
Yep, that is true. And I and this is unbelievable that I'm going to bring this up because last night LSU improved to 8-0 and Will Wade, it was against Ohio, and Will Wade talked after the game. And I'm not a fan of Will Wade. I don't think a lot of people are a fan of Will Wade.
No paragon of virtue.
With all of the FBI investigations and everything else. But the personal responsibility he took in a win for his team's play, the specifics he gave out, what they need to get better at, that's something we haven't seen from Penny Hardaway. Not just did he take personal accountability for what his team was doing on the floor, he gave specifics. And he answered the question, will you fix it? Are you going to fix it? We didn't get that answer from Penny Hardaway last night. There was no inkling of this is what we need to do to get this done. Now, part of him calling out all of the guys yesterday, I do think was a challenge right now to try to get ahead of something and have them play well. But I think at this point in the season, to call all these guys out is riskier than he's leading to believe. I think it's a tough move at this point in the season.
It was a sign of coaching immaturity of the highest order.
Yep. And you also have to ask yourself, what's Larry Brown there for? What's Larry Brown doing in all of this?
Hand him the grease board and just let him draw up stuff. Just hand him the board.
I don't understand.
More than that, what's Rasheed Wallace doing?
We know he's culture coach. We know that he's going to be rah-rah. That's sort of his calling card. But as far as Larry Brown is concerned, you've wanted Larry Brown on the staff. You've wanted a guy to be able to lead you along. Let him lead you along. Let him do that. Because Larry Brown at 81, what's the point of having him on the staff if he's just a face? What's the point? He's supposed to be a wealth of knowledge. He's been there, done that at the highest level, won a national championship, won an NBA championship. Yet it seems at this point in the season, contrary to what we thought going in, that he's not being used.
It has been shocking. Brett Norsworthy here for FanDuel, the NFL regular season heading into the final month of the year, and they've given us a big Week 13 matchup tonight. Cowboys and Saints down in New Orleans. FanDuel Sportsbook, it's about to make it even bigger because FanDuel, they'll give new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. That means you can win $150 on a $5 bet. I like the Saints money line tonight. I like the under in the game, and I like the under for the second half. That would be my 3-game parlay tonight. FanDuel, sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. #1 sportsbook app in the country, easy to use, safe and secure. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 2 hours. Already a FanDuel sportsbook user, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with $50 when you refer a friend. Plus, your friend will get $50 as well. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up with promo code CASH. Right now, before tonight's kickoff, you can win $150 on a little old $5 bet. Remember to use promo code CASH so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer. Market max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users. Fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. This hour of our show brought to you every day by the one and only Lexus dealership in town. Merry Christmas from everyone at Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Great offers on the few remaining 2021s and the 2022s. They are there. Driving luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2022 flagship LS500. You'll be looking, you'll be driving in style. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
It could just as well be the not top story of the day, but the Tigers fall to Georgia. The 174th ranked Ken Pom team, 82-79. Ugly whole game. No shot making, no defense. Kario Okendo for Georgia was fantastic. 24 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. And the truth of the matter is, I think as media members, as fans, we've been fooled yet again in year 4 with Penny Hardaway. Amani Bates has been way less effective since Western Kentucky. Jalen Duren, his impact is limited because he is a big man. You need good guards, you need good wings, and they just do not have that. There's no consistent guard play. There's no consistent distributor. Is all lost? Not necessarily. I still think they have a puncher's chance in a lot of these non-conference games, but if they play like last night, they have absolutely no chance in these non-conference games, especially against Alabama and Tennessee alike. So you look at what happened last night, and it's just very, very disappointing in year 4 with Penny Hardaway. And you look at, I think as media members, we deserve there's some responsibility that needs to be taken in expectations that have been drawn. But what were you supposed to think? Vegas odds were that very, very high. You had a bunch of experienced guys, Alex Lomax, Lester Quinones, Landers Nolly, Malcolm Dangerous. You have all these guys who are experienced, and you add 2 supposed lottery picks, young lottery picks, Amani Bates and Jalen Duren. What did you expect to happen?
Exactly.
The expectations have to be high, and not to mention, Penny Hardaway, I think the highlight of his coaching career at Memphis so far has been off seasons and his selling points and how he sells the program. And that's all well and dandy. He's put butts back in the seats after the Tubby Smith era. That I understand that completely.
Nailed it.
But he absolutely has some responsibility in the expectations that have been drawn. All the smoke, right? Before the year, I look at what he said about Earl Timberlake. He said Earl Timberlake has the chance to be the best two-way player in college basketball. So the expectations, yes, I think there's responsibility on the media. On Brett, you and I alike,
I'll take
right?
it. I said Final Four.
But I also, and me too.
I'm very guilty.
I also think that Penny Hardaway needs to look in a mirror as well when it comes to the expectations drawn around the program.
Yeah, the Final Four crowd, like me, it's taking a big hit. The book rooms in New Orleans crowd, there's a lot of open rooms today in New Orleans. Between the Ole Miss fans that book rooms for the Sugar Bowl, and I don't think they're going there, and the Tiger fans that book rooms in April, there's a lot of open rooms in New Orleans for two big events. But a real crowd that took a hit, the 40-0 crowd. Goodness gracious. My top story, another loss, and already burned through the preseason ranking. I won't be back there for a while. In the blame game for Penny Hardaway, it begins. Penny Hardaway said they played like an AAU team. Coach, you were an AAU coach. That's your background. That's all of your background. That in East, and I'll tell you another crowd that took a big hit last night is that East could beat the Tigers a few years ago. Please, y'all were morons then, and you're bigger morons now. And you know who you are. And it's really ridiculous that you still strut around here like you do. But the Tigers last night, it was bad. You felt like they might pull it out. I even texted you, I think they will pull it out. They couldn't, and it will only get worse unless some big major changes are made. And one of the biggest, hand the grease board to Larry Brown.
There's no question about it, and I don't know why it hasn't been done by now. If Larry Brown at 81 was not brought in to be a source of information, then what's he a source for? You can't bring in a guy at 81 years old who's beyond his prime to be just a face for a program. You have enough faces. You have Rasheed Wallace. You have Penny Hardaway. Those are the faces.
There's three people I was thinking of last night that might deserve an apology. Tubby and Donna Smith and Tom Bowen.
Not top story of the day.
Again, like I said, could very well be the not top story of the day, but I'm going to go this direction. This is very sad. We know that Tony Allen is former Grizzly star, of course. He was going to have his jersey retirement. It's been postponed because of all of the various issues with the health insurance fraud that was committed against the NBA. But this came out last night. Tony Allen has been charged with domestic assault in connection with an incident that happened at his wife's Collierville apartment. They found Tony Allen's wife, police did, outside of her apartment crying and visibly upset. Allen's wife told police that she recently moved into the Collierville apartment and that Tony had changed in previous weeks, becoming, quote, dark. According to Allen's wife, Tony Allen accused her of keeping him from seeing his two children, who are both inside the apartment. When Allen came over to the apartment, his wife said that he broke open the door and confronted her in the master bedroom about keeping his children from him. Police say Tony Allen then took his wife's phone and threw it in the toilet, and that during the struggle, his wife's left knee rubbed against the bed frame, causing a rug burn type injury. There's a lot of issues going on with Tony Allen right now. I just pray he and his family can work through these types of things. And as far as the health insurance fraud case goes, I hope he can work through that. But it has not been a good year for Tony Allen.
Yeah, it hadn't been. My not top story, people need to know just how bad Georgia really is. Nobody was there last night. Don't tell me what the box score was, because I was talking to Anthony Dasher that covers Georgia. I was following Jason Munns on Twitter that covers Georgia. I was talking to Patrick Garvin. Nobody was in the building. It was no hot house. It was no Beatles and Stones atmosphere with the big bad Tigers rolling into town. You can get over that. It was none of that. Tom Crean, dead man walking, 11-point underdog, second best player out. They won't win more than 4 SEC games. They had already lost to Georgia Tech. Guess who coaches Georgia Tech? Remember him? Mm-hmm. They beat Florida International by 7, and they beat Tony Madlock and South Carolina State. That's it. Their next 5 games, dreadful, and they won't win them all. It's against Jacksonville, George Mason, Western Carolina, East Tennessee State, and Gardner-Webb. I predict they go 3-2 in that, and that further craters the Tigers' net.
Yep, there's no question about it. Now, we do have guests today that are talking something other than Tigers. We have Bill Bender here on the other side. We have Keith Smith at 4 o'clock. But in between that, we want you to still send in your texts because we will get to them and we will allow phone calls at around 4:30. 901-360-8255 at the AutoZone listener line. Get in the zone, AutoZone, and also message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. But that is our top and our not top story of the day. On the other side, we get to some college football, coaching carousel, championship weekend with our friend from the Sporting News, Bill Bender.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes from Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Mount Moriah Auto Sales. What sets them apart? Great selection, quality, high-end to low-end cars, and low mileage. Mount Moriah Auto Sales is under new management. Ask for Emmett or Steven. Check out their great selection of cars or trucks. Choose from Dodges, Jeeps, Fords, GMCs, Infinitis, Porsches, Range Rovers, Lexus, Mercedes, BMWs, even Bentleys. Mount Moriah Auto Sales also has a great service department with 12 bays for everything from oil changes to alignment to new tires. Go to MountMoriahAutoSales.com. Pick out your like new car or truck today. Mount Moriah Auto Sales, right on the corner and right on the price.
It would be impossible to list all the reasons to visit Sweetgrass Next Door in the heart of Cooper Young this month. For one thing, there isn't a better place to enjoy sports than at Sweetgrass Next Door. This is the friendliest neighborhood bar in town, a comfortable place where you can enjoy college football, college basketball, the NFL, the NBA, and more with a staff that actually enjoys your company. The food is the best of any bar in town. The drinks are the drinks you dream of, and the people are the people you want to get to know. It's the best neighborhood bar in town. It's Sweetgrass Next Door in the heart of Cooper Young.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's.
Today's topic, holiday traditions.
They're the best.
Agreed. So I went to Kohl's and got 40% off Cuddle Dad's throws for movie night and 40% off outerwear.
Ooh, for caroling?
More like sledding. Also got an Amazon Echo Show 8 so the kids can bake with Grandma.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So is the extra 25% I saved and the Kohl's cash I got.
I take it saving's one of your favorite traditions, too.
You know it. Select styles. Offers end December 8th. Some exclusions apply. Amazon coupons do not apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Back rolling. Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe and Stats. Brian Dacus, of course, producing the program. We are going to get to your text. I know we have a bunch already sent in. 901-360-8255. Get in the zone, AutoZone. That's our AutoZone listener line. We'll also open up the phones later in the show around 4:30 for you guys to join in. You can also message us. I've seen some messages flow in from Facebook and YouTube and otherwise. You can message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. But right now, we're going to bring on our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News, talk some college football. He is at BillBender92 on Twitter. Bill, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. A lot going on, though. A lot going on. No shortage of news in college football as far as the coaching carousel is concerned.
No, it's been quite a week. I mean, whether it was Oklahoma and everything that went down there, or Notre Dame and Brian Kelly leaving and quickly hired Marcus Freeman, I think it's been a wild couple days there.
What do you think of the process? I talked about it yesterday. I think there's a lot of narratives put out there around some of these coaches leaving early, being selfish and otherwise. What do you make of the process? Should there be that much blame that goes around for coaches that have to leave early to go take a new job?
I think, a lot of people are seeing this for what it is. I mean, the business aspect of everything that goes down. Brian Kelly's meetings getting a lot of attention and some of his, personalities being picked over a little bit. But I think if you listen to the players' podcast, Kyle Hamilton and some of those Notre Dame players, they kind of hit it. It's more of this is one of those deals where it's part of the business.
Yep.
Bill, I think LSU nailed it in their coaching search. They have a real adult, real established head football coach at one of the places that everybody agrees that if you just kind of know a little something about football like Ed Orgeron and Les Miles, you can be very successful there. Do you think they nailed it?
I do. I think he wins a lot of football games, and he'll be able to recruit the same, if not better, talent. I mean, one of the striking stats is that since Kelly was at Notre Dame and LSU in the same stretch since 2010, I think Notre Dame has a half-game better record. So if you put all that together, it's one of those deals where, I think he'll have a ton of success at Notre Dame. I do, or at LSU. But what he's going to be held to is the one thing he couldn't do at Notre Dame, and that's win a national championship.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, and I saw this question posed, so I'm going to pose it to you. I'd say about a decade ago, you wouldn't really imagine anyone leaving Notre Dame for another job in college football. Which job do you view as better? Do you think it is LSU? Do you think he made the right decision?
I think they're about even. He made the better decision for him. Mm-hmm. I think Notre Dame's a very good job. I think LSU's also a team that finished 6-6 and isn't, it's one of those teams that they barely made a bowl game. They're on their third coach in however many years, but they've also won 3 national championships since the turn of the century. So when you keep that in mind, obviously this is a fantastic job.
Bill, this weekend, what conference championship game do you have circled for maybe providing the biggest upset?
Well, that's a tough call. I guess if Baylor beats Oklahoma, if Houston beats Cincinnati, I don't think Alabama over Georgia is like a huge upset. If Iowa beats Michigan, it's going to throw things off because Michigan obviously is a 10.5-point favorite in that game.
So with Michigan and last week and how it played out, it's kind of funny. I had my brother and my dad in town, and they were betting for the first time because we have legal sports betting here in Tennessee, and they finally loaded up after 8 years. They're like, we're going to load up on Ohio State, and they got absolutely burned. Are all of the narratives as far as Jim Harbaugh is concerned and his tenure at Michigan, are they put to bed by that win?
It helps. It's a good start, and there are a lot of narratives around Harbaugh, obviously, but I still think they got to finish this Big Ten championship off and get to the playoffs, because then we go back to, they still can't finish the deal. But they had a game plan. They stuck with that game plan. They did everything they were supposed to do. They got fantastic performances out of Hassan Huskins and Aiden Hutchinson. It was a masterful job. They did a great job on Saturday.
And it really, in years past, it's how you've expected them to stick in games with Ohio State. It just has never happened through the run game, through being tougher on defense, and they finally got it done. Now, the Big Ten championship game, I know you alluded to it a little bit earlier. What do you think about Iowa in this game? Do you think they can stick in it and maybe win it?
Yeah, they've played Michigan tough in the last 2 matchups. Now they've been these one-score games, really tight games, defensive-oriented games. Kirk Ferentz and Jim Harbaugh, they're guys that play a similar style. Iowa does it a little maybe with less athletes, I guess,
right.
less 4- and 5-star talent, but they can still play that way, and they're going to want to make it a block and tackle physical game. And I think Michigan's going to have to play well. I think first quarter will tell you a lot, because Iowa's gotten off to some slow starts. Michigan, pretty good in the first quarter. If they carry that momentum over from last week and get rolling early, they should be okay.
Bill, we've talked about it. Oklahoma State, the legacy of Mike Gundy. He's their Bear Bryant. He's their Frank Broyles. He's the word association, all-time greatest Cowboy football coach, Mike Gundy. It's really simple. It's not even. He's been that for a while. In fact, if he wins this one, is he the most unlikely guy to ever crash the college football playoff, or is it still Mark D'Antonio?
Mark D'Antonio had a nice run a couple of years ago, obviously. It'd be close. I think the Spartans obviously had a great year, but this year in particular, I don't think anybody – it's not just that he's done it. I guess it's the way they've done it. The defense. Oklahoma State, you don't normally associate with defense, but the job Knowles has done there, the job that they continue to do on that side of the ball, it's made it very unique.
Mm-hmm. The other big coaching switch that we saw, of course, is Lincoln Riley headed out to the West Coast, leaving Oklahoma, headed to USC. Does this immediately start a power shift in your opinion, or does Lincoln Riley have to prove to you that he can get it done out on the left coast?
Well, I think Lincoln Riley is going to be able to bring that offense to the West Coast. I think USC, he's going to find his quarterback. They score a ton of points. And if he can get that and keep that talent on the West Coast, yeah, I mean, sky's the limit for that program. Sky's the limit for a guy like Lincoln Riley. I think he chose a lifestyle choice. He wanted to go there. It's an interesting debate about which program is better and set up. But, Oklahoma definitely is going to the SEC, but I like it. I like it for Oklahoma. I don't like it for Oklahoma. I definitely like it for USC.
Who does OU hire?
Brent Venables is obviously a candidate. There's others. I mean, I guess with Mark Stoops locked up, that's not going to happen.
Is the Cliff Kingsbury stuff just sort of noise to you at this point with what he's doing with the Cardinals?
Could be. I mean, obviously they've got he's a really good coach, and he's in demand in some ways, but it's one of those deals where I think he's going to stay in the NFL. When you're with an 8-3 NFL team, I don't see him leaving just yet.
Mm-hmm. And
he can't bring Kyler Murray with him to
exactly.
Norman. Kyler Murray's already been there once,
and we've seen him in college before.
Right, and he's I don't know. I mean, I did hear years ago when he got hired by the Cardinals, of all these guys that run that air raid spread type offense, he's the one that a lot of guys like the most, and that's something to keep in mind. But obviously there's a long way to go. Brent Venables still fits there too. I know there was some smoke around that. I guess it hasn't gotten done yet if that's going to be the move.
Bill, Barry Switzer threw out Mike Leach for the open Oklahoma job. Barry Switzer still with a lot of stroke, with a lot of big-money boosters. Has the 2 years at Mississippi State helped Mike Leach can do it or hurt?
I think helped. I think he can do good.
I do
he
too.
Did great at Oklahoma. I think so. I think he'd do great. He's a good coach. He knows that offense. I mean, they'd have a wide-open team, and with the experience we've had there, I think he would be an interesting fit for sure.
And then also with the Notre Dame job, last thing for you here, Bill. A Notre Dame job, it looks like they're trying to elevate Marcus Freeman. That's sort of the lead candidate at this moment. Do you think that's sort of a done deal at this point?
Yeah, I think he'll be the guy that they end up hiring. I think, and it's a player's hire. This first, he's young, he's inexperienced, he hasn't obviously been a head coach, so there's a risk factor to that. But with Freeman, it's certainly one of those deals where I think the players certainly endorse him. He's a really good defensive coach, and I think in the long run he's going to be pretty good for Notre Dame.
I think so too. And you look at before the year, what Brian Kelly said about him, saying that he would likely be the successor to Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. And it looks like it's about to happen, but we will see how that shakes out. But he is our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Bill, we appreciate your time as always.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Bill. Enjoy the weekend. Bill Bender with us from the Sporting News. Belly Acres, the third location. It's on the way next spring, early summer. It'll be in Silo Square, and we can't wait. Belly Acres' motto is City-Fied, Farm Fresh. The goal is simple: provide a fun, unique farm-to-table experience for the whole family. They've done it at 2 great locations and a third on the way next spring, early summer at Silo Square. The 2 great locations now, Regalia at 6130 Poplar and in Overton Square at 2102 Trimble Place. The burgers, like the Dare Ya or the Double Dare Ya, the Voodoo Moo Moo, the Melt in Your Mouth, all so good. Signature burgers are made from 100% grass-fed beef. All the great sandwiches, the salads, and the best milkshakes anywhere. It's the quality brand the Belly Acres teams develop using grass-fed beef with creative homemade toppings right here in a fun farm setting in the big city. The goal at Belly Acres, to become even more sustainable as they grow, and growing they are. Next spring, Silo Square, late spring, early summer, now in Overton Square and in Regalia. The very best quality available in Memphis, it's at Belly Acres. Burgers, shakes, and smiles. You get it every time at Belly Acres.
When we come back, we have texts, and more texts. Make sure you hit us up, the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. And also, you can message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. I know we've had a few people already try to call in. Let's wait on those until 4:30. We will get to those then. You're listening to Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5.
The all-new Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10 right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Need to sell your home? You're in luck because I buy houses. All you have to do is call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that PIN, 901-406-1101, or just save it in your phone. Bill at I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses buys houses in any area, in any condition, at any time, as simple as that. I Buy Houses is guaranteed to close in 5 days. So if you need your cash fast, just call Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. Has your house been on the market? Were you just tired of renters? Or is it just time to start over? Well, avoid repairing, cleaning, painting, and prepping your house. Just pick up the phone and call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses. If you're in Southwind, South Memphis, North Mississippi, North Memphis, Collierville, if you can hear this, just call my friend Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101.
O'Reilly. This is Claudia's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
I had just moved to a new city and barely even knew where the grocery store was yet. When my car wouldn't start one morning, I didn't know who to ask about local shops. But I remembered a name from back home, O'Reilly Auto Parts. I called and they pointed me to a great mechanic just down the street. Now I feel a little more at home.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Barks now offers you just about everything you need for your furry family member. Daycare, luxury boarding, award-winning grooming, veterinary checkups, diagnostic services including digital x-ray, fluoroscopy and ultrasound, complete dental service, vaccinations, preventative care for fleas, ticks, and heartworms, and just about any needed surgical treatment. And did I mention that we treat cats and all types of exotic pets? We are the newest member of the Barks family and the newest, most high-tech veterinary hospital in the Mid-South. Located directly across the street from Barks and Recreation, we are a full-service hospital with a fantastic, experienced staff. If you're having problems getting a timely appointment at your current vet's facility, we are here to serve you. Call us at 901-979-8888. Barks and Medication. excellence in veterinary care.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Before we get into your text at the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255, I've got to tell you about one of my favorite new places in town, Ante Up. It's a party. Join this weekend from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. at the new WinBet Sports Bar inside FedEx Forum. To sweeten the deal, they are giving away free pretzel bites with any purchase during the weekend. Only visit FedExForum.com/WinBetSportsBar. That's FedExForum.com/WinBetSportsBar for more. Now, Tigers lose 82-79. We have a bunch of texts from all of you guys about the Tigers in general. Somebody says, and this is to your question about buyer's remorse, Brett. No buyer's remorse from this lifelong Tiger fan, but I'll say the thing that nobody ever wants to hear. I no longer care. And that's an issue. If you get to a point where a fan base stops worrying about the team, stops caring about the team, that's sort of what we saw with Tubby Smith on the way out. That's sort of the reason that
people voted with their rear ends for Josh Pashner and Tubby Smith at the end, and they have voted so far this year since the doors have been reopened at FedEx Forum. It's just been nobody at those games. The scan counts have been tragically low.
They have, and there's other reasons for that. But if the Tigers keep playing the way they are right now,
now the box score says everything's fine, but don't believe the box score because everybody says the box score is fine. And real human beings there. It has been rough. And Gabe, I go back to last spring when I tried ever so judiciously to slow down the NIT parade. Mm-hmm. When people were telling me that it was going to transfer and redound into greatness this year, I knew it didn't make a tinker's darn then, and it means even less now. And the word I used then and the word I use now is asinine.
And I completely agree with you. And my biggest concern with the way the Tigers are playing and the expectations and not reaching those expectations is more people like this texter saying that they stop caring. You can't have that in a fan base. You can't have indifference about a team. You have to have the passion. And Penny Hardaway so far through his tenure has done a good job of creating said passion. But sometimes, and I'm not going to say sometimes, every single year so far in the Penny Hardaway era has been a letdown. And that's just the truth of the matter. Somebody says,
categoric letdown. And Gabe, I'm going to say it. If the Tigers lose Saturday at Ole Miss, they should take that Denton, North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth NIT banner down. Mm-hmm. They put up opening night.
And here's the other thing, Brett. I mentioned Boogie Ellis earlier, how he's the leading scorer on a top 25 team right now and playing very good basketball. It was a different team. Alex Lomax was not participating in the NIT. Boogie Ellis, DJ Jeffries, those were the guys. Landers Nolly is still here, but
DJ Jeffries,
those were the guys leading at that point, and they're out the door.
Landers Nolly did as well.
Yes, and I mentioned Landers, but
you did.
DJ and Boogie are gone now, and those are guys who, when you saw the recruiting this offseason, when you saw them bring in Amani, when you saw them bring in Jalen Duren, when you saw them bring in Earl Timberlake, you certainly thought that they could replace that production. But how much would you kill to have a guy like Boogie Ellis now? And I remember him getting eviscerated at times last year for his play. But if you had Boogie Ellis on this team right now, you sort of wonder offensively if they'd be a better team. I really think they would.
Well, it's been a conveyor belt of 4 and 5 stars, and a lot of places have endured this. But we need to remember the composition of this roster is the envy of college basketball. There are people out there that if they could just have one piece
100%
off this team.
100%. And here's the other thing that I get frustrated with sometimes when you hear some of the fan base talk about, well, you need time when you have young players like this that come in and they're trying to be impactful players. You got to give them time. Do they get time at Duke? Do they get time at Kentucky? That's what you want
at
the
Arkansas.
program. That's what you want the program. That's what you want it to elevate to. You want it to be a basketball school, the likes of those places. Yet at those places, it's figured out. from day one most of the time. There's down years here and there, but the learning process, I'm going to put that in air quotes, the learning process at Memphis through the Penny Hardaway era has been the entire year. It's been a learning process the entire time.
Eric Musselman at Arkansas has almost been the opposite of all the smoke. It's been all the work. And last year, in his second year, he goes to an Elite Eight. He's now in his third year. I don't think they're going to an Elite Eight this year. Maybe not even the Sweet 16, but they're going to be in the tournament. I mean, and he is poised to really have more wins and better team next year with the players he signed. He's done it old-fashioned working, under-promising and over-delivering.
That's always the best policy, Brett. That's always the best policy, but it just hasn't been the case. Somebody says, I thought you guys said yesterday that it's not a matter of the Tigers win, but it's a matter of by how much. Yeah, we did say that because we thought there was absolutely no chance that they dropped a game to Georgia. Georgia right now, that school is worried about the game against Bama this weekend. There was barely any people in the stands. It wasn't a hostile road environment. Not to mention, if we're talking about a hostile road environment, Wofford went in there and won just a game ago against Georgia. So, yes, we'll take
second
the flack
best
there.
player out of the game for Georgia.
You know what, Brett? We'll take the flack for saying that, but I don't know.
It's Brent Gabe's fault.
I don't know a single person in America that thought the Tigers would drop that game.
And we would be sitting here having a different dynamic and discussion if it was just a little old ugly ham and egg 5-point win.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a concerned discussion then.
Yes, but a loss.
That's what you play for.
And you try not to go full panic.
Scoreboard's the truth teller.
And you know what, Brett? I don't know if I'd be full panic. I don't know if we'd have the same tone we'd have if it was just a loss and he said, it's on me. We have things to fix. We're going to go fix them. I promise. That type of thing. But when you combine the loss, how it happened, with the quotes that were given after the game, throwing the team under the bus, personal responsibility not quite there, it certainly is very concerning.
The imagery from last night, too, the huddles, him with the whiteboard, and then the taking off of the coat. I mean, everything. And then off the top rope with the post-game quotes.
Yes. And we have a text about some of the imagery going on. Gabe, look how Alou stood back, and when Bates was perturbed at the call of the charge against him, which, okay, we also gotten a text that I have not read about how Georgia had 35 foul shots and the Tigers had 17. If you think that free throws
There's
matter,
no rule in sports. Everybody shoots the same number of free throws.
If you think that this game should have come down to that type of thing and saying, oh, well, the whistle was terrible, I can't help. I can't really help with that. I can't help with that. But on the sideline, he says Penny told Alex to take control as a senior. Yes, he did, and Alex did a good job until he took him out. He took him out when he was playing his best ball. So there's so many things to break down from last night. It's frustrating. Somebody says players typically react on the floor to the coach, to the way the coach reacts on the sidelines. How can Penny expect the players to play fired up when he stands on the sideline with his hands in his pockets? He said last night he didn't think the players had their hearts in it. Well, the way he reacts on the sideline, they asked, does he?
Fair enough. Really and truly, his three big wins at Memphis, the road win at Tennessee, and the two narrow losses against Houston. That's the three big wins in his tenure at Memphis. And the quote after the game last year at Tulsa, when, quote, we just can't win here, end of quote.
Can't beat Frank Haith at Tulsa. It's been a frustrating few years. There's no question about it. Somebody says, hey, guys, this is Ken, actually, signs it. Hey, guys, I think it is amazing that Penny is sacrificing this entire year for a 17-year-old in Bates that's not that good. He's throwing his veteran guys under the bus when they are the ones keeping us afloat. Penny doesn't have any discipline with this team.
Well, there's always the new hope. Remember when Antoine Jones was that hope?
Remember when Jordan Nesbitt was that hope, Brett?
Exactly.
Everyone's been that hope. And look, Amani Bates, I think a lot of people are hammering Amani Bates early in his career. We're 7 games in, and he's a 17-year-old. Yes, you expected more out of him. There's no question about it. But he's 17, and he has to learn, and he needs leadership, and he needs development that I'm not sure he's really getting at this moment. Someone says he's just rolling the ball out there. This is not high school, although it looks like it. This is embarrassing. This is your fault, Penny. Let Larry Brown coach your team. Said it. I think Larry Brown needs to take a role within running an offense, running a defense, helping Penny out. And so far, it doesn't seem that that's been the case. Someone else, Fat Elvis, signed. He said, this is a lot of our fans' frustration. You guys are right on point. And now here's the thing. Looking forward, when you look at their schedule, you have games. You have a chance to right the ship. You really do. But
2 in a row would be big. Ole Miss and Murray State, be 7-2 going into Bama, would calm some things down.
But losing to Iowa State in the fashion you did, losing to Georgia in the fashion you did, doesn't give you much inkling that they're going to right the ship in time to play well for those games.
Well, they just have more personnel than the next 2 opponents.
No, they certainly do. But when you get to Alabama and you get to Tennessee, you need more than personnel. You need a team that's bought in. You need a team that is on the same page. And you need a team that's playing good offensive basketball. Can they beat those teams? Yes, they can, Alabama. They can. They have the talent to do it. But are they going to be bought in and on the same page by the time we get to those games? That's the question that needs to be answered. That'll do it for hour number 1. We, of course, will revisit your text. We know we have more rolling in, 901-360-8255. Get in the zone, AutoZone at the AutoZone listener line. We'll open up for your calls at 4:30, so stay tuned for that. Second hour, we're going to have Keith Smith talking NBA. Grizzlies are in action tonight. We'll talk to him about the Grizzlies and the NBA. 4:45, bottom of the second hour, we'll get to our Thursday night football pick and preview Saints and the Cowboys. We'll be right back on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5.
I'm with Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Shipping Kitchen. Pat, how are things downtown at the Shipping Kitchen?
Thanks, Brett. Wow, what a year it's been. 2020 threw a lot of changes at us. One of them was our great Memphis customers figured out how to ship our ribs all over the country.
Pat, we know you ship your ribs and shoulder all over the country. What are some of the other popular packages?
One of our most popular packages that's come out in the last year or two has been the barbecue nacho box. Well, our nacho box is an all-Memphis box. It includes our pork shoulder. It includes our friends at Poncho's cheese dip. Also includes Brim's chips, Felicia Suzanne's peppers, a bottle of our barbecue sauce, a bottle of our famous seasoning, some reheating tips, wet naps, cook hats, and you can even throw in a box of Dinstall's Cashew Crunch for the sweet tooth.
And Pat, this ships overnight just like the rest.
Brett, it sure does.
Where do we order this great food?
You can get these boxes by visiting our website. Go to www.hogsfly.com.
In the Alley in Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis since 1948.
If you drive a car, truck, SUV, or vehicle of any kind, you need Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. That's right. With the free Get Upside gas app, you can get up to 25 cents a gallon cash back every time you buy gas. Nearly 3 million people have earned cash back with Get Upside just for buying gas.
I always use Get Upside. Some months I make $200 to $300.
I love getting money back for things I use every day. It's just free money for buying gas.
There's no catch. It's simple. And you get your cash back right away.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents per gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code HORN for a 25 cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents per gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Earn cash back on gas on every fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code HORN for a 25 cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code HORN.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Hour 2 is here. Sports Time on Sports 56. Gabe Kuhn, Brett Stats, Norsworthy, Brian Dacus, of course, producing the program. We know that you guys will continue to send in those texts, 901-360-8255 at the AutoZone listener line. We know that you have to talk about the Tigers. At 4:30, we'll open up the phone line to you at 901-360-8255, and also message us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. But we'll go ahead and bring in our friend Keith Smith, talking NBA from Yahoo Sports and Spot You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Did you enjoy your holiday last week?
I did. You guys?
Oh, yeah.
We did. We missed
complaints.
visiting with you last Thursday, but we're glad to have you today, Keith, for sure. Let's start with the injury news around the NBA. It looks better here for Ja Morant, and it looks terrible, as usual, for Zion Williamson.
Yeah, let's start on the good one. When Ja went down, I was afraid that was it for the year. And, to be a sprain, that's still not a great thing, but that's far better than it could have been. So we're happy with that end result there. And then for Zion, another step back in his recovery. It doesn't sound like it's overly serious, thankfully, but it's just going to be tough that, here we are and he's a little further away than we thought he might have been.
So with the Grizzlies, we know obviously Ja, it's fantastic news that it's just sort of a knee sprain. He was actually putting up shots this morning and shoot around ahead of their game tonight. There's a metric out there, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's a metric that measures consistency. And the Grizzlies are dead last in consistency when we're talking about NBA teams, especially in the Western Conference. What do you sort of surmise that problem as? Is it just being a young team?
I think there's some of that. I think when you get good quicker than expected, expectations become inflated to an unreasonable level. Mm-hmm. But one of the teams I cover, the Boston Celtics, they got good very quickly, and then all of a sudden it became not good enough to be a team that was, kind of middling and, stuck there and not able to get over the hump. And I think, for the Grizzlies, the challenge becomes how do you take that next step without rushing the process, because you don't want to go out and start making trades and do all these crazy things that if you're not quite ready with because of the youth on your roster, that can set you back long term and actually put you in a worse place than if you just took a steady, patient approach forward.
If you're looking at the Grizzlies roster and you're looking at it from a front office perspective, what is their biggest need? In a couple of years, what should they have that they don't have now?
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that I'm going to say here, which has been since they moved from Vancouver, is they need shooting. It's been an issue for a number of years. Even their best teams, the grit and grind teams, they always felt like they were a shooter short, and that's probably the first thing. Beyond that, I'd like to see them add another guy who can go create offense off the dribble. John Morant clearly is great at that. Dylan Brooks is pretty good at doing it generally more for himself than it is for others, and that's not a criticism. You need scorers just as much as you need playmakers. But I think if they could get one more guy who could really create for himself and others, that would be huge. The problem is that describes probably about 20 teams in the league are looking for that same guy, and they're in pretty short supply.
Yeah, and Keith, the remedy for that feels like it would probably be through the draft and not through free agency.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. To get it in the draft, I think they clearly targeted Zaire Williams as a guy they wanted last year, and I think their hope is that he can grow into that kind of big playmaking wing forward type eventually over time. Kyle Anderson has been that guy, but veteran, he's on an expiring contract and the like. And anytime you're looking to do it through the draft, not that it's the wrong way, because certainly great teams have been built through the draft, but it's a little bit more of a crapshoot than going out and getting a free agent who's established that skill level in the NBA.
And this is relatively abstract, but when you look at what the Grizzlies are doing, I think it also depends on what the ceiling of Jaren Jackson Jr. is when he reaches that. But Desmond Bane right this moment has been a godsend. He's been fantastic, 30th overall pick, and he's been a great shooter, one of the best knockdown shooters we've seen, especially as far as the Memphis Grizzlies are concerned. But with that, do you think he's probably the fourth best player on this team? Do you think that Desmond Bane, as your fourth option, do you think that is good enough to be a playoff contending team year in, year out?
Playoff contending team, yes. If you want to take that next step forward into being a true title contender, a team that's a threat to get to the NBA Finals, he either needs to grow more as a player and grow into a bigger role than what he has now, or you need to get better players that knocks him down into the 5, 6, 7 range. And that's not a knock on Desmond Bane. He's going to be a very, very good player in the NBA for a very long time because he has one very good defined skill set, and that's to be able to shoot the ball. But he's also shown enough promise. He's starting to do a little bit more with the ball in his hands as a playmaker, which is a good sign. His defense is pretty solid. I think that'll continue to improve. He's got a great frame. I think he'll get stronger as things go along here. So I'm high on him as a player, but I think right now you've kind of got your 1A guy in John Morant. You've got your number 2, hopefully, in Jaren Jackson Jr. It's now slotting 3 through 8 on what would be a true finals contender. That's where Memphis still has some work to go. They've got some of those guys probably in place, but it's where they're slotted right now is probably not ideal.
Is Dylan Brooks part of that?
I think he can be. I think Dylan Brooks can be a top 8 guy on a very, very good team. I just don't know that he can be your third best guy on a very good team. We're kind of getting closer to finished product-ish status for Dylan Brooks. He's in year 5 now. Generally, once we get to that point, we start to have a real good understanding of what players are going to be. It's not that they can't add things to their game, but those tend to be more things like they become better shooters. He's already a pretty good shooter for what he is as a player. Maybe he can become more consistent, but he's a good player, so definitely a top 8 player. But if he's your third or fourth best guy, you're probably looking to upgrade a little bit.
So Jaren Jackson Jr. Has played a lot better since Ja's been out. And honestly, even before Ja went out, he had a string of games there where he was playing a lot more consistent, especially on the defensive end. If the Grizzlies are in title contention or in top 4, 5, 6 seed contention for the next few years. Is Jaren Jackson Jr. ever going to be, as far as role is concerned, a 5? Or is he always going to need a Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas, or somebody like that, a traditional big next to him?
I think he is a good example of a starting 4 and a closing 5.
Okay.
Meaning he'll start games at the 4 next to somebody like Steven Adams. Part of what you want to do with Jaren Jackson Jr., much like a guy like Anthony Davis, you don't want to beat them up by having them have to handle the 5 full time for 30-plus minutes a night. But if you want to slide him in to close the last few minutes of the first half, last 5 minutes of games, I think you're in a pretty good place, and I think that's ultimately what we see happen for Memphis as they can kind of continue their push up the standings and to being a better team. Is they'll probably always be some kind of rugged, dirty work center, covering the first 10, 15 minutes of each half, and then we'll see Jackson slide over and close the game as most teams continue to go small down the stretch and in crunch time.
Keith, nationally, do you think people realize the Memphis Grizzlies today, going into games of Thursday night, December 2nd, that they're the 5 seed in the West?
No, not at all. I don't think they are. I don't think that there is a understanding of that this team is pretty good. I think there is a thought of they're in that mix of about 6-7 teams in the Western Conference that are all roughly kind of the same record-wise. So I think people know that. I think there's also a sense of Ja Morant is out and this team is falling versus them continuing to slide up the standings, which has really been good to see for them to win some games without Ja here. But yeah, I don't think there's a national understanding of, hey, Memphis is actually pretty good and they're maintaining while their best player is out.
Also in the Western Conference, you look at the Lakers, who came into the year as the prohibitive favorite out of the West. But you look at the Suns and the Warriors and even the Jazz, they have looked fantastic through the early going. Where are you at this moment? I know LeBron's out, is going to be out with COVID for a minute. Where are you with the Lakers as far as being a title contender?
Yeah, they put themselves in a really, really tough spot because now being so far down in the standings, they're 7 games behind Phoenix and Golden State. They're 3 games behind Utah. What that means to me is you're going to have to beat at least 2 of those teams, and that's a tough ask. And that's assuming you're not having to go through the play-in again, which there's no certainty that's not going to be the path that the Lakers have to go through once again. So beating both of those teams on the road in the playoffs, that's going to be really, really tough. And then imagine if they put themselves in a spot where you have to go through to get to the finals, Utah, Golden State, and Phoenix, because that is definitely on the table. That could be a thing that happens depending on how the standings shake out. That's just not something I think we're going to see happen with this Lakers group. There's just too many holes and flaws in that roster.
Back to the original question about Zion Williamson and injuries. Do you think it's going to be a happy ending for him career-wise?
Well, I hope so. Anytime we have these bright young stars in the league, I'm always rooting for all of them to be great. I want every young player that comes in to meet their absolute maximum of their potential because it's what's best for the game. And Zion is one of those guys. When he came in, we were thinking, all right, this guy's a can't-miss kind of prospect, provided he stays healthy. Now, that hasn't happened throughout the course of his young career. So my worries is when we look at just the way he's built, he's a big guy. He clearly is. When he's been down, it's been foot and leg injuries, and that's hard to continue working on your conditioning and to keep that weight off. It's one of those things I remember talking with a trainer one time, and it was talking about, broken hand, it stinks, but at least the guy can still run, he can still do this, can still do that, and really stay in shape. When it's a foot-leg thing, they're off their feet, and we've seen Zion, he's already a big guy, and he looked even bigger when he came back. So that's my worry. Anytime you get a big man that has foot and leg issues, those don't always tend to fix themselves. Now, they did for a guy like Brook Lopez. Early in his career, it looked like Brook Lopez was going to be a Bill Walton type of guy who, looked great and then never made it beyond the first few years of his career as a guy you could count on to play every night. Let's hope that a similar thing happens for Zion.
Keith, I was confused about this story the other day, but the Bulls and the Heat forfeit second-rounders because of the investigation into sign-in trades with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Lowry. Can you add a little bit of, what happened in those situations, and is it overblown, or is it really – I know it's tampering, but how much tampering was involved in those particular situations?
Yeah, there was clearly a good level of jumping the gun on free agency, because I think what we saw with those teams is anytime it's a sign-in trade transaction, that can't get done in a matter of minutes. As free agency opens, it just can't, because you can't exchange contract numbers, get to the number you like. Because neither one of those deals was a straight max deal, so It's not like they walked in and said, "Okay, here's the maximum contract, and Toronto will trade you these two guys," and 2 minutes later it was done. That's not. It doesn't work that way. There was some level of back and forth between the teams, between the player, his agent, the clubs, and all those kind of things. So now, so you had that level of tampering, and I think the NBA sent a very mixed message. They came down pretty hard on the Milwaukee Bucks. They fined them, they took away a draft pick from them, and they barred them from signing Bogdan Bogdanović as a free agent. Now, in this case, 2 lost second-round picks for 2 franchises who very, very regularly trade their second-round picks anyway, because they prefer to build around veteran players on their roster. They're not. They basically, a couple people said it was a slap on the wrist. I think it was more like a tap on the wrist than a slap even. This was, their personal opinion. I continue to believe that when a free agent season is over, teams should be able to talk to them. You can't enter into a final agreement or anything like that, but just remove this. Everybody does some form of this around the NBA anyway. It just gets silly when we have this inconsistent enforcement of it. So just, let it happen. If the player's under contract long-term, or if their season's still going on, no, because that's not fair to their current team. But just let guys talk when their season's over.
And see, that sort of leads me into my next question. How often does this actually happen as compared to how often it actually gets punishment?
Yeah, this is a very regular thing. The NBA knows. What they don't want to have happen is kind of rubbing their noses in it, as far as, hey, this, not only did we do this, it is now a situation where we did it and we're, leaking the contract agreement and whatever trade agreement and all that to a reporter to be shared the second the bell rings that free agency is open. It's more of one of those of, hey, we know you all do it, but can you wait 5, 10, 15 minutes after and get the news out then? And that's what I think we're ultimately going to see change here.
Right. And by the way, before we let you go, Celtics, are they ever going to get it going? I mean, 2 young players that are fantastic. Are they ever going to sort of get over the hump with Ime Udoka this year?
Yeah, they're showing signs. They're 10-5 in their last 15 games after a pretty rough start. So that's a good thing that we're seeing them start to play better there. Defensively, they are looking really good. I think they're up to 4th in the league defensively. They really can lock in and do a whole lot of things on that end of the floor. Offensively, they're still sorting through things. Jason Tatum is in the worst shooting slump of his career, but our history tells us that'll bounce back, and when that does, they'll start to look a lot better that way. So I think, all around, the Celtics are going to start really moving forward. Their tough thing is, starting yesterday, playing Philadelphia, for the entirety of the month of December, every team they play has a 500 or better record and is currently in the in at least the top 10 in their conference. They're kicking off a 5-game road trip right now to the West Coast, games against Utah, Portland, both LA teams, and the Sun. So we're going to know a lot more about the Celtics here in the next few weeks than we did. If they're the team we think they could be, they should be coming out of this with a pretty decent record. If not, I think we have to start really readjusting our expectations.
Absolutely, Keith. We always appreciate it. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it.
You got it.
Now, when we come back, we have some news about the Tigers as far as the Hawaii Bowl is concerned. They have an opponent, it looks like. looks like they have an opponent, but there's been some shifts made in the bowl scheduling part of it, just being announced and reported by Brett McMurphy of the Action Network. We're also going to take your phone calls and your text. Phone lines are open as far as Tiger basketball is concerned. We want your thoughts. Call us 901-360-8255. Get in the zone, AutoZone, at the AutoZone listener line. Also continue to send those messages to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56WHBQ.com. We'll be right back on Sports Time.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Woloshin, and I've moved. Now you can catch me with all my friends from 10 to 11. We'll go all over the country to bring you whatever is happening that day. Wallow and Friends from 10 to 11 on Sports 56 and 98.5.
I want to do some bragging rights. Hey, I was just the other day overhearing a conversation with Big Mike, the manager of DeSoto Auto Sales. They've got people buying cars all over the country. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas. People from all over the country buy cars at DeSoto Auto Sales in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Why? DeSoto Auto Sales has the most stringent car inspection in America. They get it right the first time. Quality and low mileage, factory warranty on most vehicles. My favorite part is the people who work there. Big Mike, all the employees are professional, friendly, and go that extra mile. Expect as you walk in the door, you're treated like family. DeSoto Auto Sales understands your time matters. We can help you find your dream car and get all the paperwork finished in less than an hour. Come see us at DeSoto Auto Sales and be part of our family. Have a great buying experience every time. 662-890-7184.
If you drive a car, truck, SUV, or vehicle of any kind, you need Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. That's right. With the free Get Upside gas app, you can get up to 25 cents a gallon cash back every time you buy gas. Nearly 3 million people have earned cash back with Get Upside just for buying gas.
I always use Get Upside. Some months I make $200 to $300.
I love getting money back for things I use every day. It's just free money for buying gas.
There's no catch. It's simple. And you get your cash back right away.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents per gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code HORN for a 25 cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents per gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Earn cash back on gas on every fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code HORN for a 25 cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code HORN.
Attention foodies, there's a great new place to eat in a great restored building. South Hall Cafe is now open for breakfast, brunch, and lunch in the former Tobacco Corner. Chef Jesus Ramon is creating classics from scratch with a twist. Enjoy all your favorites, including the best cheese grits in the South, a full bar, an in-house pastry chef, catering, online ordering for curbside or delivery, and a covered patio with live music on the weekends. We're open 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays and 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on weekends. South Hall Cafe, corner of Poplar and Mendenhall.
They say this game can take you far. Your moves can take you further. Make moves that start movements.
Hennessy, spirit of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Would like to open up this segment to you guys out there. AutoZone listener line. Call or text to 901-360-8255. We've already read some text. We have more to read. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe and Seth. Brian Dacus, of course, producing the program. You can also watch us live and message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56WHBQ.com. Now, before we get into more Tiger basketball, it looks like the Tigers football team has an opponent in the Hawaii Bowl. And this is from Brett McMurphy breaking about 20 minutes ago. The NCAA has now added a 40-second bowl, allowing all 84 eligible teams to play in a bowl. Yesterday, when we mentioned opponents for the Tigers in the Hawaii Bowl, Hawaii had been excluded because they were 6-7, and they didn't quite make the cut because there was too many bowl-eligible teams. Now, it looks like the Tigers will be playing Hawaii. The extra bowl game will be played in Texas.
Out of the thin blue sky, a new bowl.
Date to be announced. It'll be on ESPN networks.
Of course it will be. Wow, and that's going to help someone in their travel and their budget issues to get out there and be the Tigers' opponent. What about the Tigers, though? Because it's not going to cost Hawaii near as much they're not chartering an airplane and flying halfway around the world.
And what's interesting is I saw yesterday with all the transfer portal news and everything else, do have to mention the Tigers did lose another transfer today, and that was Jaleel Clemens. He was a defensive end, didn't get to play much, had some injury issues this year, but he was an edge rusher. He was one of the outside linebackers, and Jalen Allen sort of took over that role this year, sort of mid-season. So I would imagine that's what led to him getting in the portal. But Hawaii, their starting quarterback, Brett, got in the portal, Chavon Cordero. So they will be without their starting quarterback.
Can he get back out of it and play?
I guess he can. I guess by definition he can get out of the portal and play again. But I can't imagine that would happen.
That light burns all night long, doesn't it?
And then the other question I have about this bowl game is Calvin Austin III. He has given so much to this program. He's given so much, and I really mean that this year especially, ankle injury and all, toughing through it, still being the leading receiver in the conference. Is he going to play? And it doesn't matter if he plays or not.
It doesn't, Gabe. I said the same thing last year when Elijah Moore opted not to play. I'll say the same thing if this time next week the news comes that if it's Matt Corral. They don't owe anybody else anything. And
I'm going to tell you, just knowing how these conversations go behind closed doors, there's a lot of people that will say, well, the NFL, all of those front office members, the scouts, they'll look at that and they'll say that he quit on his team at that time.
Won't look at it for 2 seconds.
They won't look at it. Do you really think that a scout is going to look at Calvin Austin III after having caught for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons and say, well, he didn't want to play in a 6-6 bowl game in Hawaii?
So therefore, Calvin Austin. His 40 times,
he's a quitter.
His hands, and his vertical.
That is absolutely not. That does not happen. Just to put it lightly,
they're not even going to look at.
Don't give a damn.
They're not going to look at Calvin Austin. They're not even going to be concerned with his 3-cone shuttle.
They want to see that straight line speed. I'll tell you that much. And also with Dylan Parham. Dylan Parham's a guy who's going to be playing for the Senior Bowl, and he's been banged up from time to time this year. Obviously, the right guard. He's played right tackle, left guard. He's been all around the O-line, bounced around similar to how I was in my career. But you sort of wonder if he'll play as well. Brett, we're at the point in college football where when you get to a bowl game like this, if it's not a New Year's Six, even if it's a New Year's Six, we saw it last year, if it's not a college football playoff game, it's a
coin toss on your roster.
If you have an NFL aspiration, if you know that you're going to be a draft pick, why risk it? And I agree with the thought process. There's no reason to.
And if you want to play, then fine. But we know Anthony Miller got hurt in the Liberty Bowl.
Well, and little inside info here. He was hurt before that.
Was he?
Yes. And that definitely gave him it hurt it a little more. The injury,
but he still played in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl against Iowa State.
He re-aggravated it, but as far as shoulders and feet were concerned, he was banged up at the end of that year. But Anthony was a competitor. He was going to go out there and play regardless of the situation, and I'd give it up to him for that. But I don't think in this day and age it's necessary. It's not necessary.
Yeah. Bowl rosters, bowl coaching staff, bowl motivations. It's as nebulous now as ever. Real coin toss for everyone out there. Make out of it what you want. I know if you win, you're going to say it matters. I know if you lose, you're going to say the bowls don't matter. That's how it breaks.
Couple of texts. One from Raider Corey. Guys, we can't go through this again. Lack of quality wins, inept, and we're talking about Tiger basketball. Sorry, very quick switch. Lack of quality wins, inept offensive schemes, bad losses, rinse and repeat under my guy Penny. Leave the starters out there longer to build some continuity and chemistry. I agree with every single utterance, every single word, character typed there, Raider Corey. I mean, 100%.
May I try to paint a more positive light.
Go ahead.
Go out Saturday, really take care of business. Win against Murray State, and then you upset Alabama? Does that reset everything? Is it kind of back to as less crazy and as frenetic as really since Friday night has made it?
Brett, it can reset. They have chances for good non-conference wins. You look at what they have coming up. Ole Miss will be, and I know I don't know how you feel about this. I think at the end of the year, you win that going away. Solid win, maybe quad 2. It could be somewhere in that range. Murray State is always a solid lower division team. And then Alabama and Tennessee. That's all you need. If you win one of those two, if you win two of those two, if they win both of those games, we nearly forget about this Georgia loss. Although at the end of the year, the resume will still have that Georgia loss on it, and you can't avoid it. It's a bad loss. What
would look more foolish? The language of 2 or 3 losses, and for some 40-0. Now I'm not even going to use that. No, what would look more foolish? The 2 or 3 loss on the way to the Final Four talk, or the talk really since Friday night, even sped up from last night. Which one would be more extreme and look more foolish if the Tigers now get on a run?
Explain that again. I'm sorry. I didn't quite pick that.
All right, so we went extreme with they're only going to lose 3 or 4 games.
Yes.
All right, and we've had people already on the text line say, it's our fault for setting that bar too high. All right, that now seems ludicrous, doesn't it? That we set it that hard.
100%.
Now today we're so down, and we're responding to last night's game and to last Friday night's game and the effort and the play against Virginia Tech. But now they go on a run. Which one was more extreme, the high end or the low end of the last week?
Oh my gosh. And with this program, I think we speak in extremes. I think that's just sort of what it is. I think it was extreme to say. I think it was extreme to say 4 losses. I guess. I think it was, especially looking at it now. I can't go back in time and recreate sort of the feeling. But if you told me that this team was going to be a 8, 9, 10 loss team, I think that was insane. Before the year started, right? That was almost crazier than 4 losses.
Now I'll be very surprised if Ole Miss, out of 18 SEC games, wins more than about 7 or 8.
Okay, I still think though Kermit Davis does do a decent job with the talent he has, and it's interesting too because Matthew Morrell was his best recruit ever, and it just hasn't really worked out. The other night against Rider, 14 points, had the nice dunk.
Big dunk, Sports Center dunk.
Yes, but. If he can create something, if he can develop Matthew Morrell and get that talent working, who knows by where they'll be.
They've been very patient waiting on him, and they keep thinking, it's the light's going to come on. Jarkel Joyner, their best player, it's not as talented a team now on the court than Kermit Davis inherited from Andy Kennedy.
Mm-hmm. Somebody else on the text line about the Tigers. I don't think the Tigers can lose 7 or more and still make the big dance.
They can't.
They can't. Once you get into conference championship time, there is an automatic bid. So, if they hit stride at the right time, it can always happen. But overall, I do agree with that sentiment. Keith says, the Tigers are the worst fundamentally sound team I've ever seen. They do not have great fundamentals.
It's pretty poor.
It's not good. It is not good.
Have you seen a screen all year?
Yes, but it's the same thing every time. It's the high ball screen with Jalen Duren and Alex Lomax. No one else.
And the moving screen that they got called on last night.
There's not enough movement within the offense. I thought last night there was more movement, but then on the defensive end, it just was lacking. They couldn't stop anybody. They could not get anything going.
But a real doomsday scenario is lose to Alabama and Tennessee. Then when you get into conference, now games that you just thought were kind of pretty simple, easy wins, like going to UCF, going to Cincinnati, home against Cincinnati. That's now, and of course the home and home against Houston. The road trip to Moody now seems, a lot more in play than it did on opening night, November 9th against Tennessee Tech.
Somebody says. This is an interesting text. Don't insult Josh Pastner by comparing him to Penny. He just beat Georgia last week in Athens by double digits.
Josh Pastner is a better college basketball coach than Penny.
It's kind of proven. I mean, you can only go by wins and losses and what the team looks like in those wins and losses. And so far, Josh Pastner's resume is better. He's been to tournaments. He's won tournament games. So it is what it is. Bill says, I appreciate y'all's candid comments and spot-on reporting of the Tigers and Coach Hardaway. I can't believe he throws the team under the bus and takes very little, if any, responsibility for their dismal performance. No one has said this yet, so let me say it. I think he needs to go if we don't make the big dance this year. I've heard a lot of people on that, in that boat, but the truth of it is the University of Memphis has gone all in on the Penny Hardaway era. So to go all out and rid of the Penny Hardaway era is easier talked about and said than done. I don't think that right this second they're thinking about firing Penny Hardaway. At 5-2, he's won 20 every single year. I don't think that's the case yet, but Bill, you're not the only person that I've seen with that sentiment at all. I think you've probably seen the same, right, Brett?
I have. It can't be dismissed. I don't agree with it right now, but it certainly has to be. It can't seem to be too fanciful. It can't be too wild. And I've also heard this. I've heard the comparisons to Cal's start. I've heard the comparisons to Penny Hardaway's mentor, Larry Finch, to his start. Larry Finch, the first year, would have gone deep into the NCAA tournament. Won 26 games, won the Metro tournament at Freedom Hall, except for probation that he had no part of. They would have been a 3 or 4 seed. He went to the tournament his second year. I think he went to the tournament his third year and went to the NIT his fourth year. John Calipari did go to NITs his first 2 years. Then I think in his third year, and I know in his fourth year, he went to the NC. Right now, Larry Finch looks like Gene Bartow compared to Penny Hardaway.
Mm-hmm. If you guys have any more comments on Penny Hardaway or the Tigers we just had breaking news of Tigers playing the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors in the Hawaii Bowl because they added a new bowl game, the NCAA did. Hit us up, the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. You can also message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. Our friend John has done just that. He is chiming in. He wants to talk about players not playing in bowl games. John, how are you?
Yeah, I just, guys, how you doing today?
Doing well.
Wanted to talk about this opting out. And maybe I'm old school, and we can agree to disagree. And I know that, it's all about money. Once these guys get up to be juniors, seniors in college, they're looking to get into the NFL draft. But I got to believe they owe it to their teams. I mean, they've been playing organized football for what? All through high school, probably Pee Wee League, now 2, 3, 4 years in college. You can't play one more game for your teammate? That's my argument. I mean, look at what we've seen these guys opt out in the last few years. Gainwell opted out. I mean, Darrell Henderson opted out at the bowl game.
All draft
picks. Us both times.
Look, the team is going to struggle because of this. There's no question about it. When you have your best players that opt out of the game, they're going to struggle. But at the same time, John, what I would tell you is that when you have money on the table like that, when you have a future on the table like that, risking it for one game in that situation just seems foolish. And we're in a player empowerment era. We're in an era where we want the players to have the power. We want the players to take advantage of all their pro prospects, and this is the way it gets done. Now, I respect your thoughts on it. I really do. I play at I personally, if I was in that situation, maybe I wouldn't opt out of a game, but I also respect like hell their opportunity to do that and how much.
I respect their opportunity to do it too, but when did it change? I mean, did it change in the last 5 years, 10 years, when money suddenly just became the whole reason that they're doing it? It had nothing to do with your teammates, nothing to do with camaraderie, nothing to do for your school, the allegiance there whatsoever. I'm leaving one game, and so I can make sure I don't get hurt, make money.
Now,
How good did it do Gainwell?
Well, it didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt him drastically, and neither did it. It didn't hurt Darrell Henderson either. They still got drafted. Darrell was third.
And John, the great
Kenny
majority
was fifth.
do play. It's a couple that don't. I don't know when. I don't know when it changed. I don't know when going to the bowl game became so passé. But it has happened.
I agree. I'll opt out of this phone call
Absolutely.
and let others call in.
I appreciate it, John.
John.
If you want to follow
John opted out on us.
oh
He got in the portal.
901-360-8255. No, and I respect the heck. I mean, look, I don't think that his thoughts are ludicrous by any stretch of the imagination. It's how we have, when we talk about team sports and you talk about coming up in that environment, that's how people
I wish they all stayed four years, but they don't.
That's how people are taught to think in team sports growing up and doing that type of thing. But I do think also it is foolish to put yourself in harm's way right before moving on to the NFL.
Now, Gabe, I don't know if this guy was the first one, but you remember the very talented offensive lineman for Nick Saban's first really good team, the 2008 team that lost to Utah in the Sugar Bowl, Andre Smith?
Yes, I remember Andre Smith, yes.
Okay, now he was ruled ineligible. A lot of people said that he drove it over the cliff intentionally, that he wanted to be declared ineligible because he didn't want to go and play in the bowl game, because he didn't want to risk injury because his NFL stock was set.
Yeah, and I completely – that line of thinking.
We remember Robert Kimdiche not going to the Ole Miss bowl game against TCU.
I certainly
against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and I certainly want to. I mean, John does make.
He was there for TCU. He was on my floor.
He does. He does make
the
an
night
interesting
before.
point.
Wow.
Wait, what do you mean the night before? What?
One of the great water gun fights of all time on that floor.
You didn't get caught in the crossfire, right?
No, but it lasted well into the morning, and we kicked very early that day, and it was quite a ruckus on the player floor.
I'm in John's thought on this. I sort of want to get other people's perspective on this because I don't know when it changed, but when did it change? Guys played in the bowl games all the time. It was rare it was an opt-out situation. It has turned that way with the player empowerment movement.
You would occasionally have suspensions. Joe Namath famous for being suspended from one. The Arkansas guys around the Orange Bowl famous for being one. The NCAA setting down Brian Bosworth and him having the T-shirt on the sideline.
No, I think there's some value to that. I don't really know when it switched over, but it certainly did. Dan has called in, and he wants to discuss.
Hey, Dan.
Dan from Bartlett. About not playing in bowls. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing good, y'all. Well, first off, I'm a Tennessee fan, and Lord knows we need every player we have to play.
Right.
But, I think Bear Bryant said it best. You ain't coming here to take a test. You're coming here to play ball. Now, saying that, whatever decision you make, you don't owe the team nothing. You do what you got to do for your family and what's best for your situation.
I agree with that, Dan.
I
agree. Like I said, we need every player, and I just wish they would all stay. But you do you, and we'll figure out the rest.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dan, we appreciate the call.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and Tennessee waiting for their bowl assignment on Sunday. I've had some calls today that people have heard that it was official about Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. Nothing's official till Sunday. Nothing at all really for any bowl.
But if you're guessing, Peach Bowl seems like that direction. Now, and again, I do want to. When not playing in bowls, there are some players. There's no way Matt Corral sits out a bowl game, right? There's some players that will not sit out.
There's a way.
You think he will?
There's a way. Yeah, I think if something popped, strained,
yes,
just wrong.
But as of right this second, if Peach Bowl is announced tomorrow and there's setbacks, I think he goes. There's some players that will always want to play in a bowl game, but again,
I think if anybody got that tight hamstring in those practices leading up going to the bowl city, that'd be especially if you're sitting up there at 1 or 2, because next year in the draft, I'm totally guessing if Matt Corral is the first or second player drafted, like most of the mock drafts now have him. Just with the standard rookie contract, that's about $35 million.
Mm-hmm. And Brett, no, you know what? I guess the word, and this sort of goes back to what I talked about yesterday with coaches and the selfish terminology. When people say that guys are selfish for sitting out of the bowl game, they're being selfish. They're not helping out their team. I would say, and just like I did yesterday with coaches, selfish does not always need to be a negative connotation.
It sure is.
Selfish, you got to take care of the person that stares you back in the mirror, just like every person listening, every person in the studio would do first. If you ain't taking care of yourself, no one else is. That's just the truth of the matter.
Gabe, sometimes selfish is saying no. Sometimes it's saying no to get in that car with a carload of teammates that might be, drinking and carousing. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not doing. Selfish is sometimes a really good thing. Tonight, you want to win some money on the NFL? I know how you can do it. Brett Norsworthy here for FanDuel. The NFL regular season heading into the final month of the year, and they're giving us a big Week 13 matchup. We're going to make that pick when we come back from the other side of this break. Cowboys and Saints down in New Orleans, that'll be rocking. FanDuel Sportsbook about to make it even bigger because FanDuel, they're giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. That means you can win $150 tonight by putting up $5. You can win with the Saints money line, with the Saints going and the game going under and the game going under for the fourth quarter. That's my 3 SGP. FanDuel, sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. #1 rated sports book in America, safe and secure, easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid in 2 hours. 120 minutes, you get your cash. Already a FanDuel Sportsbook user, FanDuel hooking up all customers with $50 when you refer a friend. Plus your friend gets $50. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Use promo code CASH before tonight's game. You can win $150 on a $5 bet. Remember to use promo code CASH so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, hit up the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
We appreciate everybody that called in and participated. The AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. We're going to close down the phone lines. Continue to text us. Continue to let us know your questions, comments, concerns about the Tigers, about the NFL game tonight, which we will come back and talk about on the other side. When we get to Thursday night football pick and preview, we have the Cowboys and the Saints. You're listening to Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5.
You have opinions?
What do you hear? What do you say?
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Kevin Kugler here from Westwood One with a preview of Thursday night football with NFC action to kick off Week 13 when the Saints host the Cowboys. Dallas will be shorthanded due to COVID issues this week, but the return of some key players on offense could help them break a 2-game losing streak. For the Saints, fortunes have changed since their Week 8 win over the Bucs. Following that game and the loss of Jameis Winston for the season, the team is 0-4 with Trevor Siemian starting at quarterback. Head coach Sean Payton said this week that there's no easy fix.
It's something that obviously we've got to look closely at everything we're doing and who we're doing it with. And, it's not like new players are going to come walking through the hallway. It's got to be from within.
Join Tony Baselli and me for the call from the Superdome, the Cowboys at the Saints on Thursday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
For the ones who are always in the know.
Delivery confirmed.
For the ones who keep things running. For the innovators and the problem solvers. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, experienced staff at local branches, and free access to experts to help answer your toughest questions. So whatever challenge you face, we have the knowledge and products to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So your wipers are streaking. It might be time for a new set. We've got a great deal to help you get the job done and be ready for the weather ahead. Right now, you can get a $15 AutoZone gift card by mail or email when you buy 2 Bosch Envision wiper blades. And we've got even more ways to shop. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswangerglass.com. Binswanger Glass. The Christmas sale is happening now at Family Leisure. Did you know that's where Santa goes to shop? Oh, yes. Why? Because arcades are up to 25% off. Air hockey and foosball tables, they start at just $149.99. You can get great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Let me tell you, that is perfect for the winter weather. Trampolines, up to 20% off. This is the best time to buy. Pool tables and shuffleboard tables in stock and ready for delivery. They're not waiting on a boat somewhere. Speaking of delivery, those schedules are filling up very, very fast. So reserve your date now, just in time for Christmas. It's the Family Leisure Christmas Sale. It's happening now. Remember, shop early, shop local, and shop where Santa shops. It's Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40. It's where family and fun come together for the holidays.
Barks now offers you just about everything you need for your furry family member. Daycare, luxury boarding, award-winning grooming, veterinary checkups, diagnostic services including digital x-ray, fluoroscopy and ultrasound, complete dental service, vaccinations, preventative care for fleas, ticks, and heartworms, and just about any needed surgical treatment. And did I mention that we treat cats and all types of exotic pets? We are the newest member of the Barks family and the newest, most high-tech veterinary hospital in the Mid-South. Located directly across the street from Barks and Recreation, we are a full-service hospital with a fantastic, experienced staff. If you're having problems getting a timely appointment at your current vet's facility, we are here to serve you. Call us at 901-979-8888. Barks and Medication. Excellence in veterinary care.
There's now a faster and easier way to pick up your Corky's Barbecue. Order and pay online, pull into the designated spot, text Corky's to 474747, and we'll bring your order right to your car. No waiting.
AC trouble? Call Air Doctors of Memphis, 901-598-HVAC. Owner Matt Davis is a third-generation full-service air conditioning specialist. Air Doctors of Memphis services all major brands, and labor and parts are guaranteed 100%. Their yearly AC checkup is only $60. Then this year, Air Doctors is the official HVAC contractor for St. Jude Dream House. Air Doctors installed the St. Jude Dream House new Train high-efficiency equipment. Get your service from the best. AirDoctorsOfMemphis.com. Call 901-598-HVAC.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Thursday night football tonight. Cowboys at Saints at 7 p.m. We will actually have that on these airwaves. 560 AM, 98.5 FM. Tonight, Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites visiting the Saints.
Yeah, they are.
And there's some interesting things going on with this one. Taysom Hill's going to get the nod as the starting quarterback for the Saints. He's 3-1 as a starting quarterback. Obviously, they were all last year when Drew Brees was struggling with health. Amari Cooper looks like he will make his return, his triumphant return from the COVID list. He will be limited tonight, though. It looks like he'll be on a snap count. And Alvin Kamara, for the fourth straight week, will be out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you what my pick is. I'm going to go ahead and start right now. I'm calling the straight-up upset. Give me the Saints plus the 4.5. I don't even think I need the 4.5. I think Taysom Hill wills them to victory. We're talking about Sean Payton with a guy he likes. He's 3-1 as the starting quarterback. I think the game plan will be nice tonight. And I think the Saints defense can certainly make the Cowboys offense uncomfortable.
Who dat, Gabe says. I like it. How you thinking, big man? I'm staying right there with you, straight up. New Orleans Saints, 21-20.
I love this. Brian,
so
what
Brian
do you have
Jacobs,
to say
group
about
lock,
it, man?
huh?
Come on, what do you have to say about it?
I think both of you are crazy. I think you are crazy. What are we playing this at?
4.5.
Yeah, the line's jumped up to 6.5. I'll take the Cowboys 4.5 easily. Both offensive tackles for the Saints are questionable. If neither of them play,
who dat?
Taysom Hill.
DeMarcus Ware is also back, so you've got DeMarcus Ware
Hill, 4,
and
4.
Come on now.
Guy broad jumps at 10-2.
Good for him.
I mean,
good for him.
Lord.
He's going to have to be jumping around trying to avoid that pressure tonight. Go Cowboys.
Here's the scoreboard.
Crazy
Here's the
athlete.
scoreboard this year. College football, I'm 40-44. NFL, I'm 41-32. That's overall 81-76, plus 11 points, 52% winners this year. Second place at .496, 43-41 in college, 35-38 in the NFL. Overall 78-79, plus 9 points. Noted Cowboy homer Bryant Dacus.
Woo!
And I'm dead last. Awesome.
Well, I call it third place. I don't call it dead last. I call it third place. College football, 39-45. NFL, 35-38. Overall, 74-83. 47%. And a Blutarski, 0 points.
Oh, gosh. Both of these teams tonight trying to get off some skids, though. Cowboys lost 2 in a row. Don't want to make it 3. Saints would drop 5 in a row if they lost tonight, which they won't. But Saints,
Party over in New Orleans if they lose tonight, isn't it? New quarterback next year, a lot of change. They go get Russell Wilson?
I guess it's a possibility. You think Jameis is – you think
Jameis
even with
experiment?
the injury?
No.
He was fine. They were a good team with him in there. I mean, he at least was steady. But five losses in a row for
Will Bryant
the Saints
Dacus
team would
ever
be
pick
rough.
against the Cowboys this year? That's the question.
No.
I'll give you an answer now.
I like simplicity. Thank you.
I guess we'll see who's right, though, me or Brett or you, tomorrow. We'll see. That'll do it for hour number 2. When we come back, Greg Gaston joins us. We're going to talk a lot of Tigers to start hour number 3 right here on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. And what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate when compared to health insurance. It really is remarkable. There's more than 400,000 members now who have shared more than $4 billion in medical bills, so they can handle your bills too. And here's the thing, if you join before December 15th, they'll waive your new member fee, so that's another $170 you'll save. I'll give you the number here in a second, but call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline, December 15th, so call now and you'll save even more. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
I'm with John Virgos in the alley at the world-famous Rendezvous. John, it's so good to see you. How are things at the restaurant?
Brett, things in the restaurant are fine, but like all restaurateurs will tell you, things are still not back to normal. Supply chains are interrupted. One week we can't find charcoal. Another week we're short on ribs. Another week they can't find the plastic bottles to fill our sauce jars with. I've watched in awe as our fellow Memphis restaurateurs have worked their way through these past months.
John, always new and exciting things at the Rendezvous.
People know we have Greek salad, vegetarian red beans and rice, and vegetarian nachos. But now we have desserts. Miss Barbara of O Taste and See has individually wrapped some wonderful desserts. We have key lime pie, chess pie, chocolate chess pie, and pecan pie. Not pecan pie, pecan pie. We also have a new twist at the Rendezvous. We now have outdoor dining. It's in the side alley along the Rendezvous, not the one in the front. And depending on the weather and depending on staffing, please call ahead to make sure we're open. And we hope it becomes the mainstay here at the Rendezvous.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' world-famous Rendezvous in the alley in downtown Memphis.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 115 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. So easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. Stock up heavy on all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Final hour on this Thursday night before Thursday night football. We just made our picks. Gabe has the Saints. I have the Saints. We both have them straight up. Bryant Dacus has the Cowboys. We visit about the Tigers football and the bowl game, Hawaii bound with Greg Gaston, and also about Tigers basketball. But first, let me tell you about the title sponsor of this hour, and that's our friends at 5704 Goodman Road at DeSoto Auto Sales. They're very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area, and they've done it so well. Go online and look at the beautiful cars and look at the testimonials from the many, many happy customers through the years at DeSotoAutosales.com. All the cars test-driven, all checked out bumper to bumper, head to toe, thoroughly. Unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find that special car you want just for you. You're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, but they care about your time, and they want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. You walk in within 45 minutes, test drive a car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're out of there in 45 minutes or less. Under an hour, it's a guarantee at DeSoto Auto Sales. They know we live in a world today that time really matters. That's why they keep it simple. At 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Gabe, I bet Greg Gaston doesn't have a clue what we're talking about all day today.
Oh, absolutely.
I bet he didn't have to experience
idea.
this at all.
There's no, he graces the airways from 7 to 10. I'm sure he didn't get any texts about the Tigers basketball situation, but he's also
bet he
from
heard
the
about
Tigers.
Maryland losing last night, though.
He's also from the Tigers sideline. He's brought to you by Southall Cafe, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, Mid-South Hobbies, 3A Collisions, Neil's Bar and Grill, and Wilkinson's Liquor and Wine. Greg, how are you? Are you doing okay?
No. If I recall correctly, you started out last week's episode with me. You crushed me on something. I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe Maryland. And there's Brett sneaks in a little bit of the Maryland.
And that's Brett's fault.
Greg,
I was trying to be very good this week.
You're being sensitive. First of all, we weren't here last week. We were giving our thanks for great people like you in our lives.
No, it was Tuesday or something. Whenever you brought me on, I remember. And you know what the worst thing about it is, Brett? When your alma mater struggling, you got a bunch of guys who you went to school with, and they get on one of those text chains, and they don't let up, and it just happens to be right in between your 7 to 10 show. So in other words, as I'm trying to do a show this morning, and of course people are calling and texting about the Tigers, I got these three bozos, my buddies, that are texting about Maryland. They want their coach Turgeon out, and they just were relentless. I can't. I'm like, guys, I don't want to hurt their feelings and say stop.
Trust me, the day I went to work for Ole Miss, I was off those text exchanges.
That's smart. I just don't want to hurt their feelings. I'm trying to figure out how I can flip out of them without them knowing about it. But yeah,
Mark Turgeon's a great coach. Who's wanting to get rid of him?
They all want to get rid of him. It's always, what have you done for me lately? And each game is pretty much
an indictment, isn't it?
It's an indictment. It's like a career is gauged on the one game, but here in Memphis, look, I understand the people's grief and their the problems they had last night with the loss, the problems they've had with 2 losses already this season, the performance against Iowa State, the starters, the rotation, how many players he's playing, the change in the offense. I do understand. I understand the plight of the Tiger fan. And what's unfortunate is when you look at last night's game, offensively, they went back to the old Lion offense. So it's the first time for guys like Duran and Bates, but for the veteran players, they've been through it, and they had a great run last year to end the season with this new offense. The offense was fine. It wasn't great, but they weren't turning it over 26 times. Right. And if you look at the stats, that matched up pretty evenly with Georgia, albeit a 2-5 Georgia team. That's the problem, because you go toe-to-toe with these guys, you still should be able to deposit them. You should be able to get a W. You should be able to put one in the left-hand column, but you don't, because all of a sudden they don't play defense up to snuff, which has been the forte, right? This has been the DNA of Penny-coached teams. So here comes a little bit of improvement in the offense. The defense takes a step back, and then after the game, and God love him, Penny shoots from the hip. And there are a lot of people that are critical about the things he said about the players. Did you throw the players under the bus? I say it's all good. I mean, get it out. If you want to criticize players, you want to criticize your coaches, you want to criticize yourself. I don't care. Just get it out there in the open, because you've got to take care of business now.
Well, but don't you view that at this point in the season with a 17 and 18-year-old as the guys you're sort of trying to hang your hat on as far as your program is concerned? Don't you view that type of challenge this early in the season is relatively risky?
It's all risky in this day and age of the transfer portal. All you have to do is say one little thing that's not what the player wants to hear, and so I'm taking my ball and going home. It's an easy way to ruffle feathers right now with any athlete out there. And if you notice, Gabe, when he called out the players last night, he called out the veteran players by name. He did not mention Bates. He did not mention Duran. He didn't mention Minot either, who has not been given the playing time that most people believe he should be getting. So I think he was careful not to call out the young guys, instead calling out the veteran players. A lot of people will say that's bad. Don't call out players. Don't call them out by name. And as long as Penny understands, and I think he does, that they're at fault as well. That coaching staff's at fault as well as the players. And the things that he said about this quote right here, there aren't enough guys in the locker room who care about winning unless they are the ones that are helping us win. It's not team. That's the danger of having a lot of talent. The talent has to want to play together, and right now the talent doesn't want to play together. Whose fault's that? If you're going to blame anybody, that's Penny and the coaching staff for recruiting that high level caliber talent. But you want that. You want that type of talent. You want Memphis to be nationally relevant, to be able to get those top players. But you have to do a better job in making sure they gel, that they're all on the same page. But when you're selling the program as this will help you get to the NBA, which Calipari has done right throughout his career, and he's been pretty successful with it. He certainly was successful at Memphis. You have to be able to turn that into W's on the court, or it defeats the entire purpose. Right?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I talked about that. And having played for certain coaches, Greg, I like to see personal accountability from a head coach. Yes, it's a we thing. I don't want to see, it's their fault. They didn't execute the right way. I think some of the turnovers that we've seen earlier in the year are certainly the players' fault. I think a lot of the players were making dumb passes earlier in the year. Last night, it sort of cut down, but at the same time, I think personal accountability goes a long way when you're trying to manage a team. And I brought this up When you look at Boogie Ellis and what he's doing at USC, 14 points a game, USC 7-0, one of the undefeated teams. Do you think that there may be a development problem right now at the University of Memphis?
There may be. There may very well be. I'm not around them enough. I'm around them, but I'm not around them enough to know exactly what's going on in there. Are they comprehending everything that those coaches are teaching them? I mean, that's a lot of knowledge that's coming at you. Are they able to focus and then turn what they're learning in practice into game, into what they do in the game? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sold on the fact that they have comprehended everything and are ready now to execute it. Certainly, there are things that bother me that they're doing, and I'm thinking that that's just they don't know exactly what they want to do. Now, the coaches would argue with me. We have Cody Topper on every week, and I'm sure he would argue that with me. But when I see him out there kind of lost, the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to very hard to remember, okay, this is what we're going to do here. This calls for this. This calls for that. And you can't think. You have to react, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is you're coming from the AAU circuit. And a lot of guys who make the switch, right, they go from the AAU to college, whether it be for a year or 4 years. A lot of them struggle right out of the gate, but some of them don't. Why is that? I don't have the answer to that either, but I do know that it's a lot different when you're freewheeling and playing more of one-on-one in the AAU, and then you go to a team in college where it's a structured offense, and now you're forced to share the ball a little bit more or a lot more. You're forced to find your teammates. It's not all about you. You have guys that are as good as you for the most part, and that's not easy for some of those players to be able to digest that and then to, I hate to say the word regurgitate, but to do it out on the court, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Greg Gaston, our guest, you can hear him every morning on these airwaves, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., alongside his partner, Eli Savoy. Greg, everything has a beginning. Everything has an ending. Usually the ending, there's got to be a beginning to that, to the end. For Larry Finch, it was the loss to Drexel. Well, no, he wasn't fired after that game, but he was mostly into the next year. But you knew after Drexel, it was a depreciating value. It was over for Tiger legend Larry Finch that day. Well, for Tick Price, it was the police involvement. For John Calipari, it was the day he left for Kentucky. It wasn't necessarily a game. For Josh Pastner, it was the CBU exhibition game. That was the end. That was the de facto end for Josh Pastner. Do you think last night represents the beginning of the end for Anthony Hardaway?
It's a great question, and your point is relevant because it's happened in the past. But I do not think so. I don't think we've hit that point yet. It's extremely disappointing that they have not been able to get to the NCAA tournament now in his fourth year of coaching. Now there's still plenty of time to get it done this year. Maybe we'll go back in time, Brett, and we'll look back to this game and go, wow, that was a 2-5 Georgia team that has just lost to Wofford. Was missing their starting point guard. You were a heavy favorite. You went in there and you lost the game. Maybe. I just don't think so right now. It's hard to gauge into the minds of Laird Beach and Jeff Crane and all the administrators at the university and how they're looking at this. You have to take into consideration the fan. Look, I love the fact that the fans are fired up about this because the worst thing is, as you guys know, is indifference. And that's certainly not the case with Memphis basketball. But it has to turn into fans in the seats as well. And now that there's no longer the restrictions because of COVID at FedEx Forum, let's see if there's an increase in tickets sold and butts in seats, because that is important as well. Because instantaneously, when we knew Penny was taking over as the head coach, what was the reason? Well, hopefully it was going to turn into more W's, but hopefully it was going to turn into more interest, meaning more money for the school, more people going to buy tickets. That's going to be the key. I mean, and we haven't gotten to that point yet where these are sellout games at FedEx Forum, no matter who the opponent is. We're not back to the days of Calipari yet, where we're selling out the arena. It's not even close. So that's going to be pivotal. So to answer your question, it's very hard to answer your question. Maybe one day we'll look back at it and say yes. I hope not. I mean, I got my fingers crossed for Penny. Look, I don't have to say it, but everybody knows he's so important to this city. He's an ambassador to this university that they can figure it out. But right now, you just scratch your head, Brett, going, boy, another year where they're taking these early season losses, which could be detrimental not only to get into the tournament, but if they get in, to have a seeding good enough to advance them in the tournament.
Greg, there's so much preseason hype, and there's been so much around Penny Hardaway. He's invited it. He's asked for it. He's gotten it. One thing, I swear, the last 4 hairs I have on my head, I'm going to pull them out, that every year we get to this point, and it's that September big money booster scrimmage only, and the next day all you hear is 40-0 and how great it is. I'm so tired of hearing about that garbage game in September every year.
You got more than 4 hairs, though, Brett. Let's get that out of the way first.
6, okay.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think some of those diehards are tired of it now. They have bought into that scenario for years now, and obviously all the time that Penny's been here, and it hasn't come to fruition yet. So I think it's not only just the average Joe Tiger fan, but I think the ones that put a lot of money into the program, they want to see results as well. So look, talk is cheap. We know that. Penny said bring on all the smoke. So no matter how critical people are, he said to do this. I mean, bring it all on. You know, we're gonna overcome anything, and we're gonna win big. Well, it hasn't happened yet. I still have faith, but it's fleeting as far as what these guys are going to do. But I think you're right. I think people are tired of hearing all the talk preseason. What are we going to be a number 1 seed? We're going to be a number 2 seed. Let's let these guys get out there in the court and then to see what they're doing and see if there's improvement. So right now there's issues, and they have to fix it real quick because, as you guys know, in conference play there are some decent teams, but it's not a juggernaut conference.
No.
And if you're going to get to the tournament, right, that's the first question. You better get to the tournament. If you're going to get there, you want a decent seed. So you got to win some of these non-conference games. There's some big opponents coming up, but you got to take care of business.
And you have to circle the Alabama and Tennessee game. Now, last night, it's interesting because he really did try to limit the rotation. They were down on turnovers, but defense started to go away. And I know there's no simple answer to what I'm about to ask you, but what's the formula? What needs to happen for this team to compete in those games when they get to them?
All I can say is they have to – and I do like that he limited the number of minutes for basically 7-8 guys, and he played a couple for a few moments, but he didn't play a lot of them like he's been playing. I think they have to. This is all on the coaches now. The coaches in practice should know who's working the best together as a unit, because that's what Penny was saying last night. There's guys out there trying to do things on their own. They have the team is not first and foremost in their mind. Well, find out who the guys are that blend in together the best, have the best chemistry, no matter who it is, no matter if it's a Memphis kid, no matter if it's a 5-star guy, find the right 5 and play them the bulk of the minutes, have your 2 or 3 guys off the bench. But you got to find the chemistry. And if you find the chemistry within those 5 guys, those main guys who are getting the bulk of the minutes, then maybe they'll play off each other a lot better than what's been happening now. That's the only thing I can think of. You can't go and jump into a free agency right now and pick up a point guard. I mean, that's even though the transfer portal has become that, it's not the time to do so. You're not going to have that thing available. Maybe for next season, which is going to be pertinent. But I think right now you got to find the right combination that blends together to give you the best chance to be successful on the court.
Greg, is Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Pavilion on the campus of Ole Miss. Is it must win for Memphis?
Yeah. I think it is. And again, people listening going, well, it means you're eliminated from getting – no. Brett knows what I'm talking about. Gabe knows what I'm talking about. I think most of you do. Mm-hmm. You have – first of all, for your sanity, for the sanity of this community and this program, you have to win. Ole Miss is going to give you their best shot. Kermit Davis is a great coach. It's on the road. I understand that. I understand it's a road game compared to a home game. Ole Miss is not a juggernaut, okay? They have good talent. You need to win that game. Because then you got Tennessee and Alabama coming up. And that is not going to be a picnic. And I think a split would be really solid. I thought before the season, maybe you sweep those guys. Right now you're going, wow, I hope they can split Tennessee and Alabama. But you better beat Alabama. You better beat Ole Miss, after losing to Georgia. So, yes, to answer your question, yeah, you better win this game.
I agree.
And Greg, another question that has been coming up is Larry Brown. Where's Larry Brown in all of this? When I go to games and I see him on the sideline, at times he's up and he's coaching. but it seems like he hasn't really made his presence felt as far as offensive schemes are concerned.
Yeah, I hate watching the game on television. Of course, I called a bunch of their games up until the Brooklyn trip, and I got some more coming up. But I have, like everybody else, watching on television, you see the shot of the bench, and you see the frustrated look on Larry Brown's face, who just turned, I believe, 82 years old the other day. Mm-hmm. And you hate to see that because this is a guy with so much knowledge. And I'm sure Penny is asking him and using him for his knowledge, I would think, in practice. But the head coach ultimately has to make those calls. I know that Larry has worked with individual players. I'm not sure exactly what he says to them. You know, I'm sure that's in confidence, but he does that. As far as the game planning is concerned, I don't know. I wish I had an answer to the question because that's been a question asked by many people. Is Larry having a difference of opinion than Penny? Does he want to run this certain offense that Penny wants to run another offense? I don't know. All I can tell you is Cody Topper comes on every week on Sports 56 Mornings, and he said they are more on the same page than they are on different pages. So I'll take his word for it that they've come to the conclusion that this is best. The change in the offense was the best move, that the way they play defense, there's a lot of things that apparently they agree upon. But Larry Brown, you would just think having him there. The other thing, though, Gabe, is are players tuned into Larry Brown?
Right.
I hope they are, but you're talking about a guy who's 82 years old, 17, 18-year-old kids who just came off the AAU circuit and other guys who have been around the program a little bit, but then they're listening to this guy who, who's this guy? Well, those who are familiar with basketball history would know how great a coach that Larry Brown has been and still has a great mind. So hopefully they're picking his brain like they should. I'm not saying they're not doing that, but I just wonder, and I hope there's no disconnect between the players and an ageless wonder, let's say, the Hall of Famer Larry Brown.
Well, you could understand it if there was the disconnect because, Greg, I saw Larry Brown coach the Carolina Cougars at the Mid-South Coliseum the week before Christmas in 1974.
Isn't that crazy? That's unbelievable. God bless him. To be still relevant, not only
about 1,000 people at the Coliseum that night.
I'm sure the concession prices were pretty cheap compared to what you pay now for a
Coke. The hot dog was great at the Coliseum. It really was.
But, I mean, here's a guy who's, again, just turned 82 years old, and he wants to be a part of this Tiger basketball program. Of course, Penny wanted him from day one. I love it. I love the fact that he's there. But, yeah, that's a great question that Gabe brought up that people are bringing up all the time now that they see the team struggling a bit. How much impact
it may have been 73. My old brain doesn't work right anymore.
Come on. Well, so you could have said 74. Nobody would have questioned you.
Yeah. Johnny Newman had about 15 points. I could go to Basketball Ref and look it up. Gabe, I know you want to talk about football.
I would say, Brett, I was not going to question you. I was negative.
I never questioned.
I was
Brett.
negative 20-something at that point. So Tiger football just announced Hawaii will be the opponent. They added another bowl game. I didn't know that they could do that, but
on the fly, coming to your city.
It'll be in
big
Texas.
And rich.
It'll be in Texas too. It'll be in Texas on ESPN networks. Now, getting that win against Tulane though, it really was. I know that Tulane's not a good opponent. They ended up 2-10 this year, but to get bowl eligible for the 8th straight year was so wildly important for that program.
Look, I think I said this to you guys the last time I was on last week, on Tuesday, I believe, that even though it's a one-win difference, there's a huge difference between 5 and 6. It's just, maybe perception, maybe reality, I don't know. But yeah, to be in a bowl, to be bowl eligible 8 straight years, that says an awful lot. Look, Ryan Silverfield and that staff had to deal with a lot of injuries. No excuses, but they did deal with a lot of injuries because I'm around that program all the time. Now, do you still deem it a disappointment? Absolutely, because it's the bare minimum. Ryan Silverfield will tell you that, and he has said it. The bare minimum is bowl eligibility, and that's what they hit. They hit 6 wins. We all thought 9, 10 wins for this Tigers team. And they lose a lot of talent. Calvin Austin, Sean Dykes, J.J. Russell. There's a lot of talent they lose. So this is going to be pivotal for them to hit with the transfer portal, to get guys out of the portals, JC guys, obviously the high school recruiting. They have to do really good in the class because they are depleted with a lot of these guys moving on. Now they have some waiting in the wing, of course, waiting in the wings. But they have to do, I think, a great job in bringing in some very talented players to keep this thing rolling. It was a step back, but it wasn't a major step back. If you didn't get to a bowl, I think the outcry would be a lot louder than it certainly is. There's some criticism, but I think people are happy that they got it done. The team stepped up. They beat Tulane. They got the 6th win, and now they can enjoy themselves over the holidays in Hawaii.
So when you look into this offseason, when we're talking about points of emphasis, are we looking at special teams, O-line, and some defensive backs as far as, because they're going to be losing in the defensive backfield, they're going to be losing a whole lot of experience, a lot of 6-year, 5th-year guys.
Yeah, remember with special teams how good they have been. When you were there, they were absolutely terrific. And they had their special teams coach. He left. They brought in a different coach. So the special teams was, at times, a lot of times, a disaster. They got to get it back because Memphis has been able to take advantage of opponents with great special teams. So that's important. Now, I like that Kemp came on at the end of the season. So maybe they have the field goal kicking and the extra point kicking situation settled for next year. Let's hope so, because what a roller coaster that was. But they have to do other things better, including kick returns, and Rodgers is pretty good, but they were so dangerous when they had the likes of Pollard and other guys back there. So special teams, but most importantly is the big hosses up there, Gabe, the offensive line.
No question.
Got to get some guys out there that are ready to play right away. You got to get the depth. And hopefully that will help with the running back game. They had a running back who was hurt before the season started that they were depending on. They're probably going to go out there and get more skilled position players at wide out and running back. But I think you certainly got to address that offensive line to help with that running game, because you can't have another year of a disastrous running game. That's 2 straight seasons.
And I certainly wonder, last thing, I certainly wonder about scheme, because it seems toward the end of the year, they were running very similar, relatively predictable schemes in the run game. And I know it's all RPO-based with Kevin Johns. That's what he likes to do. But I wonder, scheme-wise, how much they're going to switch going into next season.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was the first year for Seth Hennigan, and he was on with us recently on mornings. And he said, look, I know the system. I've been around football with my dad being a coach, so I had the green light to be able to audible at times, and certainly with the RPO, it's his decision what to do on that. I think it will become a little bit more wide open now with Hennigan for next season to be able to do some more things. Obviously, you have to have those players, and you have to have protection. But there were a lot of times, Gabe, where Seth would look at the one receiver, and if he wasn't open, he took off.
Yep.
And ended up running a little bit more than I thought he would by the end of the season. So I think it's important for them to get back to being very a variation, let's say, on offense, because it's always been fun to watch the different things they come up with.
Absolutely. Greg, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
And Greg, as always, from the Tiger Sideline, brought to you by South Hall Cafe, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, Mid-South Hobbies, 3A Collisions, Neil's Bar and Grill, and Wilkinson's Liquor and Wine. Now, the one thing, before we get to break here, that is, I have to say it's an elephant in the room, is getting talent poached. Talent does get poached nowadays in the transfer portal, and how open it is. And I know Seth Hennigan and a lot of these guys have different familiarity with different coaches around the country. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on the transfer portal, like I mentioned.
We will, and you just wonder if somebody Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth related wouldn't be coming after Seth Hennigan if they had a doubt about him on the field coming out of high school. They don't now. He can get it done.
That's the truth of the matter. You have to recruit. You have to continue to recruit to keep guys on your roster. And, again, just want to mention it, Jaleel Clemens, who is a defensive end, a stand-up defensive end, has decided to jump in the transfer portal. He had issues with injuries and what have you. But Jaleel Clemens decided to get into the transfer portal today. And he adds on to a list that already has Jakari Robinson, who is a transfer from Cincinnati, and Isaac Ellis, who has been a starter at left guard for a couple of years now here at the University of Memphis. But when we come back, we get to a little bit of college football news, and we get to some of your texts right here on Sports Time with Gabe and Stats.
Happy Hour has a new time. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour now from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Testing. Hey, can you hear me? You can? Well, if you enjoy hunting or shooting, how important is your hearing? If your kids hunt and shoot, how can you protect their hearing? Well, the guys at Tactical Guns and Gear in Collierville can get you set up with a silencer for your rifle, handgun, even your shotgun. I promise they'll get you on your way to a much more enjoyable shooting experience. They have more silencers in stock than you'll find anywhere, and so much more, all in one stop. Save your hearing while you still can. Tactical Guns and Gear, Highway 72 in Collierville. Can you hear me now?
Now at Southland Casino, it's Hot Seat Saturday nights, where you and your party pals can win a share of $25,000 in free play. Just get down to Southland and play with your Lucky North Club card. We'll pick one hot seat winner every hour from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Plus, every player on that same bank of slots will be a winner, too. Grab your party and hit the Southland scene this December for Hot Seat Saturday nights. See Lucky North Club for details. Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help, call 800-522-4700.
The Christmas sale is happening now at Family Leisure. Did you know that's where Santa goes to shop? Oh, yes. Why? Because arcades are up to 25% off. Air hockey and foosball tables, they start at just $149.99. You can get great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Let me tell you, that is perfect for the winter weather. Trampolines, up to 20% off. This is the best time to buy. Pool tables and shuffleboard tables in stock and ready for delivery. They're not waiting on a boat somewhere. Speaking of delivery, those schedules are filling up very, very fast. So reserve your date now, just in time for Christmas. It's the Family Leisure Christmas Sale. It's happening now. Remember, shop early, shop local, and shop where Santa shops. It's Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40. It's where family and fun come together for the holidays.
They say this game can take you far. Your moves can take you further. Make moves that start movements.
Hennessy, spirit of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
901-360-8255. Get in the zone at the AutoZone text and talk line. We would love for you to. Also, I know it's approaching the dinner hour and people may be getting ready for Thursday night football or watch another night of light college basketball schedule tonight, but a good NFL game out there tonight. Two great spots. You know them. You love them. The new Collierville commissary, Houston, Levy, and Poplar, are the original in Germantown, the mainstay since the early 80s. 40 proud years going strong for Walker Taylor and his staff. Couple things. First, Walker says, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holiday season to all. Second, thank you for the business last week for the holiday bird. So many people enjoying that. The hickory smoked turkey, the hams, all the sides, all the desserts, everything that came with it. They were proud to be a big part of a lot of people's holiday fare and want to again for this next round of holidays. But all the barbecue always there year-round. 365. Start that barbecue feast with the great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos that were invented at the Germantown commissary in the early 80s. Smoked chicken wings are fantastic. All that could be a meal in and of itself. But you want the barbecue. You want the shoulder. You want the ribs. You want it chopped. You want it pulled. You want it on a sandwich. You want it on the plate with all the sides. And don't forget the party packs like the 6-pack or the 8-pack or the 12-pack. And those desserts, like the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had, the pecan pies, the terrific banana pudding, all the desserts so good, everything great at the commissary. If you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary to 33733 or call 901-754-5540. Go online at commissarybbq.com. In Collierville and in Germantown, happy holidays from everyone at the commissary.
We have some texts on the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. I know we have a caller waiting as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. But somebody says, I think the team will be fine. Both team and star players are overrated. Sweet 16 is good. That's sort of the opposite of what we've been seeing all day. A lot of people sort of
Sweet 16 is great.
Moving in a different direction.
Sweet 16 was good 2 weeks ago.
Somebody else, and this is about Tiger football and Calvin Austin and his decision whether he will play in the Hawaii Bowl or not. If it weren't for the team and the school, the sit-out would not be getting drafted. So they're saying that the team and the school provided the opportunity for that person to be draftable. And look, yeah, but at the same time,
he had to go
there's
do
a
it.
lot of service that those guys have given to the school.
It's two-way street.
Right. So, yes, you can say that all you want, but these guys are able to go do what they want. And also, they don't owe anybody anything at this point.
Either side.
Especially when you look at Calvin Austin. If this is the example we're bringing up, he has given up everything. He was a walk-on coming into Memphis, had to work his butt off to get where he's at. His ankle's been hurt all year, and he still caught for 1,000 yards. So,
what game did he hurt that ankle in? Was it Texas San Antonio?
I believe it was UTSA where he really struggled with it.
That game that day. That one was my fault. The only game I went to in person all year. Look what I got.
Yeah, I
Look
saw
what
you in the hallway. Well,
I know.
Yeah. That was a tough one. That really was, because 21-0 to start the game.
First quarter
and
was
just
great.
Slowly faded away. Somebody else says, Tigers are the Dallas Cowboys of college basketball. All hype, very dysfunctional, and results always fall below expectations.
I don't think that's fair to the Cowboys because they've got Lombardi trophies in the hallway.
Yeah, as of recently, I mean, I guess you could make that case. Now, I am going to push back against this. Well, to a certain extent. If players want to get paid for their name, image, and likeness, then coaches can call them out, speaking on Penny's comments. No, I am okay with coaches.
And I predicted that was coming. You remember when I asked you that it would be fair game since they're getting paid. There it is.
I am 110%, 110% agree that players should be able to get some type of treatment that way. They can get called out. But at the same time, my whole point with Penny Hardaway is personal responsibility. Take your accountability, too. Don't just put it all on the players in one way or another.
I think all that should be behind closed doors.
Yes, I do too. But if you're going to go ahead and call out your players, you also, I think, have a responsibility to take your accountability, take your licks for it as well.
Easiest thing ever in sports. When you win, say very, very little, and when you lose, say nothing.
We'll go ahead and take this call from Wendell. He wants to talk coaching carousel. Wendell, how are you?
Hey, Wendell.
Hey there. I just wanted to bring up an idea that I think would solve this coaching carousel. I just don't understand why all these schools are throwing all this money at coaches when, the money's coming from boosters, and these boosters have companies. Not too long ago, there was a lot of talk about Fred Smith offering $20 million to the Big 12, Why don't they take that money from Federal Express and start something like the Memphis freight line, for the Federal Express freight line for linemen on both sides of the ball, and set up a program where they bring these guys in. Number one, they get paid X amount when they show up to classes and have passing grades. Number two, for going to practice. Number three, they get so much when they start each game. If a defender gets a tackle for a loss, he gets X amount of dollars. And if offensive lineman gets a pancake
you want a bounty
loss,
system.
I mean, why can't you put this money on a?
I don't know that you
on
can.
a merit basis.
No. And here's the thing.
For Federal Express, $3 or $4 million a year hitting out of their budget. They're spending it all over the place anyway, and
it's easy to spend their money
like
too.
That. And then package it so you've got enough where you can bring in 30 or 40 players. You won't have to worry about getting good quarterbacks and good receivers and good secondary if you've got good linemen out there. And you could bring in the librarian as the coach if you got the best players in the country.
Wendell, we appreciate the call, man. We'll discuss it. Thank you so much, Wendell.
That's out of the box, thank you.
Look, and here's the thing: there are people out there
performance-based.
Well, but there are certain places. When you look at Miami, they're one where they have their donors and
didn't
some
Luther
of their
Campbell
boosters.
kind of try to do that behind the scenes at the U?
Yeah, but they have boosters that are setting up funds for NIL and for people to benefit. Now, when you're talking about the way Wendell's trying to say, well, if you start and if you have a pancake block, you get $5, and I don't know if we'll ever get there, but
man, who's going to keep up with it?
Yeah, but from the standpoint of NIL, there are funds being created for certain teams on certain campuses. I got a text here. Wait, hold up. Y'all can call out the players, but the coaches can't. That's dumb. Okay, no, never mind. I don't know.
I didn't follow.
I don't follow that. The players can get called out. There's no question about it, but I think the coach needs to take personal responsibility for how his players are playing. That's simple enough.
I do get it. I think he's saying that us talk radio heads, that we can criticize the players, but he doesn't see why we can do it, but yet the coach can't do it publicly. Well, there's a difference. He's the coach.
And again, Brett, I have no problem with players being called out publicly, but at the same time, there is personal accountability from the coach that needs to happen at that same time. It's a we thing. It shouldn't be a you. It shouldn't be the players stink. It should be all of us as a collective stink.
Yeah,
so,
in the win-loss category that coaches are judged by, Penny has just done nothing.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Again, I'll bring it up. Best year for him, 22 wins, year one with Tubby recruits, with Jeremiah Martin running.
With clearing the floor and letting Jeremiah do his thing.
Yes.
Now, it took a while to get around to that, to recognize that would work. On the bowl front, with the different motivations to go, I do think you're going to see some bowls have to get very creative, and instead of you getting your Xbox and your flat screen and your warm-up suit and a gift bag, give me cash.
I always enjoyed the suites.
Oh, it was always one of the great days at the building when the gift stuff arrived.
That's the best thing ever. You talking about giving them straight cash for a bowl game? Straight cash, homie.
Yep.
Okay.
When you check in the hotel, have a big stack of hundreds on the table.
Well, they get their per diem too. Per diem.
They do, and that's why you see 10 people riding one car to the bowl game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you can divvy up the cash. And that was one time a year that it was legal to hand out cash.
And you know what a lot of guys do is they use the bowl suite, the gift suite, to try to get presents for the holiday season for their family.
Uh-huh.
I did that a couple
You get
times.
the Best Buy card, yeah. A lot of
get a
players.
nice watch, give it to your dad or brother or whatever.
And there was one player a few years ago that got the gift card. Was it a tight end for Arkansas? That they were in the Belk Bowl, and then he shoplifted at one of the Belk stores in Charlotte. Come on now, you can't do that.
In college football, the coaching carousel continues to spin. Colorado State has fired Steve Adazio. That was 4-12 in 2 years.
Well, they've been through the coaches. And Colorado State used to be a pretty solid place.
Well, yeah, it's always had its struggles, though. It's always had its struggles. But Steve Adazio, after how BC ended, his style
after
is
Mike
gross.
Bobo,
His
after
style is
Jimmy
nasty.
McElwain. Yeah.
His style. You think Mike Bobo, by the way, he got let go by Auburn. You think he'll surface somewhere else in the SEC? It's sort of like the tradition at this point for Mike Bobo to be on an SEC staff.
I don't.
No comment. Brett says no comment.
No.
Also, Notre Dame, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, looks like they are going to elevate Marcus Freeman, and their OC will be Tommy Reese, who obviously is a former quarterback for them. And
Bronco Mendenhall.
I was going to say, this is kind of sad for me, and this is interesting, too, because I don't know if Bronco.
Old sparring partner, old Bronco.
I don't know if old Bronco or Coach Fuente liked each other all that much, but they're done at the Virginia schools in the same exact year. Bronco Mendenhall steps away, and what he said is it's been 31 years of straight football. I need to step back from college football. They're 6-6
years
this year.
old.
Yeah.
He's probably through.
Yes. I think he's a solid coach, though. I thought he did a
I
good
do, too.
job. He had a good
Thought he
career.
was at BYU. Thought he was at Virginia. Had the good bowl. They didn't win the Orange Bowl against Florida, but they were competitive.
Now, and again, I don't know if Coach Fuente or Bronco will ever tell you this, but I don't know if they were big fans of each other. And it was always so funny to think about the bowl game in Miami, playing
ruckus.
his BYU team, the fight, and then they surface at the Virginia schools not 2 years later. That was always just a hilarious storyline to sort of follow side by side. And now they're out in the same exact year.
Are you going to the Y Bowl?
Oh, I will not be at the Y Bowl. I'm going to be honest. will not be at the Hawaii Bowl.
Brian, are you going to the Hawaii Bowl?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely
You
not.
don't have to throw the absolutely in there. You could just say no. You could just say no.
I cannot afford going to Hawaii.
Okay.
I've never been to Hawaii. I'd love to go.
I've never been to Hawaii. Been to the Bahamas.
I've been to the Bahamas.
Where else? I've been to the Dominican Republic.
I hit one of the great golf shots ever in a monsoon in the Bahamas. 5-iron.
I've always wanted to
inch
make
and a half.
I've always wanted to
One
make
of
a
the
trip to
body
Hawaii.
cash on that hole too.
Wait, what'd you say it was? A 5-iron?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
About 167 yards out.
Closest
monsoon.
to the pin or what?
No, it was from the fairway, and I mean biblical flood. My partner's up on the green waving the flag where I could see him waving it, and I told him, I said, all right, get off the green. And I hit it, and it landed like a sack of sugar right by the hole.
We're going to go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, it'll be officially time for the Thursday edition of Taco Bell Crunch Time right here on Sports 56 98.5.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world at sports56whbq.com or on the Sports 56 app.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Did you notice your water heater not heating as well last winter? During the cold winter months, the groundwater is colder and requires more energy to heat the water, and sometimes old, inefficient tank water heaters just can't keep up. It may be time for a tankless water heater from Conway Services that never runs out of hot water. Conway Services is making now the perfect time for a new tankless water heater with 12 months interest-free, or I'll pay you $250 for that old tank water heater. Plus, the energy-saving models only heat the water you use, saving you money on your gas bill every month. And no more worrying about that tank bursting in your attic either. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier tankless water heater professionals at 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old water heater will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One with a Thursday night football preview. NFC action coming up from the Big Easy with the Saints hosting the Dallas Cowboys. At 7-4, Dallas has a firm hold on their division but are looking to avoid a third straight loss. Quarterback Dak Prescott says the expected return of receivers Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb will be key to getting the season back on track.
I mean, I don't want to say that it's that simple. We've got to be better all the way around. Just because you get 2-star receivers back doesn't mean that aspect of the game happens. So we've all got to buckle up and be accountable for what's happened and get better in every aspect.
With Trevor Siemian under center, New Orleans is on a 4-game skid and needs a win to get back to 500 on the year. Kevin Kugler and Tony Baselli will have all the action of the Cowboys at the Saints on Thursday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
O'Reilly. This is Claudia's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
I had just moved to a new city and barely even knew where the grocery store was yet. When my car wouldn't start one morning, I didn't know who to ask about local shops. But I remembered a name from back home, O'Reilly Auto Parts. I called, and they pointed me to a great mechanic just down the street. Now, I feel a little more at home.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, frequent heartburn may keep you from running your A game, but it doesn't have to anymore. Join the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. Just go to prilosecotc.com. You'll get $3 off to get you started, plus 14 days of tips, tricks, and reminders. Just 2 weeks, zero heartburn. Go to prilosecotc.com and sign up today. Zero heartburn is possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. 3603. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
So this was going to be one of those central barbecue spots where I encourage everybody to get ribs for people as stocking stuffers. But? Well, I was listening to your show.
Oh, really?
Sure, I listen every day, seething with jealousy. But I heard one of your spots that had the code word big head.
Yeah, that's right.
I always thought you were probably sensitive about the big head thing.
No. I accept that I have a big head.
Huge.
Maybe we should just get back to Central Barbecue.
Well, I'm going to get back to the whole Central Barbecue makes the perfect holiday gift. But seriously, look at that pumpkin.
Let's just...
I mean, that thing could have its own weather system.
Okay, we get it. Let's get back to...
I know. Central Barbecue gift cards are a great stocking stuffer. How the hell do you even buy hats?
I don't.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Quick programming note before we get to crunch time. Tonight, 560 AM, 98.5 FM, we will carry the Cowboys at Saints game. 7 p.m. Thursday night football right here, 560 AM, 98.5 FM. Let's go ahead. Let's get to crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Brett, what I learned today is that Nebraska's quarterback, Adrian Martinez, is in the transfer portal. He has been in college football since the Reagan administration at this point.
Oh, no.
He
was great. Throwing the ball to Johnny Rogers in the early 70s when he won the Heisman, handing it off to Mike Rozier in the early 80s, giving it to Tom Rathman at fullback in the 90s. He's been great at Nebraska.
Where is he going to transfer at this point?
Back to Nebraska.
This is ridiculous. My guy, honestly, I feel like he's been there, in all seriousness, I feel like he's been there since I got to
Frank
Memphis.
Solich's last year, he was the quarterback, right, at Nebraska?
I think so, something like that.
He definitely was there for Bill Callahan. There's no
ridiculous.
Doubt. There's no doubt. I learned today that good coaches, well, I've known it all my life, the good coaches don't blame their team, even if it's true. You don't do it publicly. It was just an extraordinarily bad look last night. And with the sensitivity out there now, you can make them all mad and everybody quit.
Yep, very true. I wouldn't doubt transfer portal being a very real topic we're having here once we get into conference play and toward the back end of the season. It's certainly out there. What I could have done without. And first, just a little note. Iowa State AD Jamie Pollard. Prayers out to him. He has been diagnosed with testicular cancer. He's done a really good job at Iowa State.
And
really
a lot of
stand-up
friends
guy.
in Memphis.
I would say really stand-up guy. Just want to send our prayers out to him. What I could have done without, though, is Miami and their AD search. Did you see yesterday, New Mexico Athletic Director Eddie Nunez, who was a top candidate for their vacant AD position, pulled his name out of the running. If you can't get New Mexico's AD to go to Miami, you got some issues. And then today, Brett McMurphy reported there's been, with more than 50 board of trustees and several donors involved, quote, everyone is in charge and no one is in charge. They don't know what they want to do with Manny Diaz. Half want him gone,
How many board of
half
trustees members?
50. Half want him gone, half want him to stay. They don't know what they want to do with the AD position. They don't know what they want to do with their head football coaching position. It is a mess right now in Miami.
And they're going to have to do something with Larry Nagel at the end of this basketball
And I'll say
year.
this. I think Ole Miss fans are take this news. I know that it's at the expense of somebody else, but I think Ole Miss fans look at that news and they think.
Keep the chaos, keep it real on the chaos. Could have done without it, and I never thought it would be the case. But Saturday against Ole Miss is a must-win for the Tigers. I think Ole Miss is slightly better than Georgia. I don't know if it's appreciably better, but they're not great. I've watched them one time this year. A loss to either Ole Miss on the road Saturday or to Murray State at home, and the NCAA tournament bid's out unless you win 21 in a row.
Yeah, they need to win. They need to win on the road at Ole Miss. They need to get it all figured out. But hey, we're in year 4 right now with Penny Hardaway, and I don't know if we could say figuring out is something that's been a strong suit so far. It's been learning the entire year. Last year they finished it on a high note, but you wanted them to start this year on a high note. It certainly has not been that way. Also, something I didn't get to mention yesterday, Zach Randolph jersey retirement is going to take place December 11th after the Rockets game in FedEx Forum. There's going to be a lot of people on hand. Did you see the giveaway? They're going to give away a commemorative vinyl. And it's going to have, Zach Randolph's best hits, where I have to go see the track list.
The deep thoughts, the deep moments?
Yeah, it's going to be the calls of his best plays as a Grizzly on this vinyl.
Okay.
First
and
5,000,
interviews.
I like that.
And interviews. First 5,000 people that show up will get a commemorative vinyl. That's
heart and soul of
pretty
the
cool.
Grizzlies.
What we're looking forward to tonight is the Grizzlies game. Grizzlies at home versus the Thunder. Thunder 6-15 going into this game. Grizzlies 11-point favorites without Ja Morant. That should tell you about where they are at this point in the season.
Did you know the Grizzlies were 5 seed?
Yeah, I did, but when you look at, look at the standings, though.
It's your job to know. Yeah, I know. It's your job to know.
But if you look at the standings, Brett, it goes Grizzlies at 11-10, Lakers 12-11.
It would kind of scare me if you go, no, Brett, I thought they were the 9 seed today.
Grizzlies 11 or Clippers 11-11, Trailblazers 11-11, Timberwolves 11-11, Nuggets 10-11. So everyone's sort of jumbled up right there between 4 and 10.
Hey, real quick, we're talking this must-win stuff. You know it's must-win for tonight. Bryant Dacus' Cowboys.
Yes. It is.
Hey, they're going to get it done.
I mean, you could say must-win for the Saints, but I think they sort of scrapped the season.
Is it a must-win or is it a can't-lose?
Must-win or a can't-lose?
That's a Zebo deep thought there.
That's all we have for today on that note. Thanks for joining us. Thank you to Keith Smith, Bill Bender, and Greg Gasson for their contributions. Tomorrow, normal Friday show, Alan Bell, Bruce Marshall, Drew Barrett, Jason Munns, and we'll have our first National Bank and Trust Friday football forecast. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll holler at you tomorrow at 3.
Mount Moriah Auto Sales. What sets them apart? Great selection, quality, high-end to low-end cars, and low mileage. Mount Moriah Auto Sales is under new management.